Miggity mic, check 1 2. Welcome back to the random show with your host Agostino Zinga. No, actually, it's the Agostino Zinga show. What's going on? Tazz back in your ears, back in your earwaves, back in your zone, back in your sector with your host Agostino Zinga. How you doing? How you feeling, people? Wherever you may be, whatever you're doing right now, I'm coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere in the depths of London. What's going on? What's crack-a-lacking? Let me hear you scream. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Now, in all transparency, in all honesty, I did record an hour of this podcast yesterday via live stream, but I was unhappy with the final result because I was very low energy. I come back from a very grueling gym session. If you want to see more of my gym sessions, if you want to see more of my pictures of my bare legs in the gym, looking over some weights and stuff, and not showing my face or my body in any way, sinful way, kind of hiding myself like a fat girl or something. If you want to see a little bit of that evidence, check out my Instagram. Link in the description. It's my full name. You know where to find it. I had a very grueling workout. So my energy was low. I wasn't as high energy as I usually am. I wasn't on it. I wasn't sharp. I wasn't quick. I wasn't funny. I wasn't informative. And even though I recorded 1 hour's worth of banging Tazz content, banging Tazz podcast material, I thought, you know what? I got to spin the block. I got to do it again. I got to do it again, bro. I got to do it again. So today, we're not only recording episode number 804, we're also going to be recording an episode of the random show. Is going to be coming after this. We're also uploading another episode of the Is Joe Rogan Funny episode on our Patreon. And we're also doing another episode of Tazz 804. And we're doing another episode of the random show. So today's going to be chock-a-block full of content from me, the Agostino Zinga. And you're going to see it all via this lovely medium of my channel and all the podcast platforms we're on. So if you're on a podcast platform right now, if you're on any type of podcast platform right now, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, and all of that fucking malarkey, make sure you leave me a 5-star review, okay? Especially if you're on Apple or Spotify. I think Spotify is the easiest option to do it, but leave me a little review on there because those little reviews are going to help me when I'm reaching out to advertisers and I want to get ads on here. I want to get flipping AG1 to sponsor me. I want to get some fucking cocaine company to sponsor me, some ketamine company, wherever they are, right? I want to reach out to them and I want to show them my reviews and see all of you lovely strangers, all you random folk out there in the world who listen to me for some odd reason. I would appreciate that. So big up everybody tuning in. So today, usually what I do for my live streams of my podcast, I'll usually have them, you know, unlisted, and then I edit them and then whatever. But what I'm going to do this time around, I'm just going to leave the whole podcast up. So if you listen to it, you can watch it this way. So I'll just switch in between. I'll probably do a couple live streams per week, and then the other ones will be pre-recorded. I'll just like premiere as per normal. So this will be available to watch again if you want after the fact. So do not, you know, be worried about that. You can watch this whole entire podcast in full after the fact. And like I said, after I finish this particular episode, I will be doing a random show quickly, going through some previous week's news and updates and stuff, and then doing another one later in the evening, another Tazz, more Joe Rogan stuff on the Patreon. So keep an eye out on the channel. Loads of stuff dropping, loads of stuff going. Let's flipping go. So first things first, I want you to jump into, and something that I spoke about when I previously streamed the other day. Obviously, it's been really hot in the UK. Yesterday was the hottest recorded day in history. The hottest. Not in history, but the hottest of the year. Let's just say that. I'm being dramatic, right? And I'm being a bit of a baby. But it's been on record as being the hottest day of the year. And I've got to be honest, I'm embracing my simp, my cucky, my pussified, my baby, my crybaby, my emotional sensitive side, which I never have, right? I don't cry. I don't believe in crying. I don't believe in men getting on the internet and crying. I don't believe in men sharing their emotions or talking about how much trouble they're in or their feelings. I don't believe in any of that shit, right? I'm a stern anti-believe in all that stuff. But when it comes to the heat, I turn into a big baby. The two things I'm a big baby on, When I get cold, right, I'm like every other man out there. When I get a flipping cold, I act as if I've got a terminal illness. And when it gets too warm and I start sweating like I am right now, I get really uncomfortable. It's weird because I've always been like this. Whether I've been big, whether I've been skinny, whether I've been fit, whether I've been slim, I've always been a habitual sweater. And it's very troubling for me because I feel like sweat for some people signifies BO, signifies smell, signifies non-showering, signifies just like an unkept, rushy, like, you know that guy, remember in school when you had that supply teacher that would come in sometimes and he'd like have no belt and he'd be walking through the class with his folders and like with no belt, holding up his trousers, and he's got that iron, you know when you iron your trousers too much and it creates that kind of a sheen on the seam. He's got shoes, like he's wearing like lace up hard sole shoes, and he's got like ankle socks he's wearing it with. You know that type of guy. I feel like whenever people see you sweat, they just imagine that. When really, sometimes people like myself, I'm not sweating because I'm doing a lot of cardiovascular work or something. I'm not sweating because I just ran after the bus, or I just ran through flipping Stratford Station, or I just ran across the motorway. No, I'm sweating because I just sweat. But sometimes when people see you, especially when you go on a train, if you've ever been on the Central Line, if you've ever been on a Jubilee, if you've ever been on the Elizabeth Line, Overground Line, you know, when you jump on that train and you're already sweating, people look at you like, rah, Ted, what going for my guy? People look at you like, rah. People don't want to stand next to you. People kind of move away from you when you see you sweating. And actually just, my body just creates this fucking extra liquid all over my face. I can't help it. It's not my fault. But summer exasperates that for me. And I detest it. I detest it for the fashion because I feel like men's fashion doesn't bang during the summer at all. Men's fashion in summer doesn't bang. I feel like summer fashion is made for the girls and the gays. That's the only people that look good in summer. No other person in summer looks good apart from girls and gay guys. No one else. Men look terrible in summer fashion clothes because all you do, you just cut off your jeans that you normally wear into shorts. All you do, you cut off your t-shirts into tank tops. That's not fashion for me. That's dead. I'm not on that. And I don't want to wear some like fruity t-shirt to like seem happy. You know what people do when it's like summer? They start wearing t-shirts with flowers on it or like be happy or smiles. It's like go and dance on two of my middle fingers. I don't want to look like a flipping walking fucking, etch-a-sketch, paint by numbers fucking illustration. I'm not on that in the slightest. So I want to I want a parka, I want a double-breasted coat, I want a leather jacket, I want some leather pants, I want some big Dr. Martin boots, I want some New Rock boots, I want Yeezys, I want all this gargantuan shit, you know? I want to be like, remember those AI things where they made like the Pope look like he was wearing some mad, crazy Moncler? I want to look like that. I want to look like the biggest fucking bouncer outside of some St. Petersburg club somewhere, just standing there, -1 weather, just like stern. That's what I want to look like. But summer, you can't wear that shit in summer. Summer, you can't wear any of that shit. Summer, you have to go around in like little shorts. You have to get your feet out, all this sort of nonsense, and you just look horrible, and you're never cool. And in general, apart from all those things that irritate me about summer, it's living in this country, people. It's living in this country. I'm not even the biggest pub goer. I'm not even the biggest pub goer. I'm not even the biggest beer drinker, right? And I hate it when I go to my local boozer, when I go to my local cocktail bar, when I go to my local whatever, and they give you a pint in the warm glass. Yes, people, they're washing the pint glasses in fairy liquid in warm soapy water, and then they're pouring beer that seems like it's been boiled in a fucking microwave, and they're handing it to you on one of the hottest days of the year, and you're sat there thinking, why? So much so these days, I'm having to be one of those fucking hipster wankers. I'm having to act like a Tory. I'm having to act like a Tory. I'm going to a fucking pub now, and I'm asking them for a cup of ice when I order my pints. I'm like, mate, could I get a pint of Stella, please? And could also get a cup of ice. I'm having to sneak little ice cubes into my pint now, which dilutes it, obviously, but at least makes it a little bit chilly. I'm having to now, embarrass myself in front of all the lads in the fucking pub who are looking at me and thinking I'm less of a man because I'm putting ice cubes into my pint. But I have to do it because it's the only way I get a chill drink. I have no other choice but to put ice cubes in my pint glass in a pub. Can you imagine how embarrassed I might be? Can you imagine how shameful I am that I have to do that, but I have to. Why? Because this country isn't built for the heat. They don't give you chilled glasses. The pint coming out of the tap isn't cold. None of the drinks, even in the fridge, are fucking cold. Nothing's cold. The only place where you might be lucky to get a chilled drink, only place, is a cocktail bar. And that might be because the cocktail bar might have a particular brand of liquor on sale that they want to display or they want to serve in the best way possible. It might be because they're probably social media friendly, or just they just understand how to serve this type of drinks. So they may grab you a glass out of the fridge that's actually chilled. And you have to be lucky too. If you order probably a Jameson, they're probably not going to give you a chilled glass, right? In most cocktail bars. But if you order maybe a little bit more of a higher standard whiskey, you might get a chilled glass. But for the most part, it doesn't exist. Then, moving on from that, it's even worse when you go into the office. So if you're having to go in the office like I do, maybe once or twice a week to work with your company, with your other colleagues and shit, you have the unfortunate nature where sometimes, because of the change and the drastic drop in different temperatures, going from, you know, Indonesia, Bali-esque weather outside here right now, then going into an office and suddenly it turns into a fucking snowscape, it can sometimes, guess what? Lead you to being sick. That's the other side of things. So you leave your house, which my house is a fucking greenhouse at the moment, is boiling at the moment, as you can see, as I'm sweating at the moment, which might be part of the reason why I haven't been streaming or podcasting as much as I probably should, because sitting here, I'm just covering myself in sweat. I'm covering myself in sweat, not shred, in sweat. I'm feeling a little bit icky, even though I've had 17 showers in the last 4 days. But it's honestly, the worst place to be in the world is the UK when it's hot. I don't deny it. I don't want to hear anybody argue against that fact. And that's why I'm one of those people that's going to stand by and I'm going to ride it to the end of the earth and say that I fucking hate summer. I will take winter over summer any day of the year. I don't care. I would gladly live in a place where it's consistently cold than live somewhere where it's consistently hot, especially if there's no air conditioning in most places and there's no places where you can just get a nice chill drink. No, I'm not gonna pay £6 for 2 scoops of shitty ice cream from your little shitty van parked outside of a park somewhere. I'm not doing that. Cool. Number 2, I'm not gonna drink a shitty warm pint at fucking Crate. I don't care. Don't give a fuck. And number 3, I just hate being inside where all the places, legitimately the walls feel like they've got radiators built in them. That's the thing about most buildings in the UK. The walls feel like they have radiators, some sort of heating system built into the plaster. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's what it feels like. It feels like when you touch the walls, they're gonna be hot. It feels like you can literally crack an egg on a wall and you might be able to fry it. Sprinkle some sea salt on there, bang, flip it, and jobs are good and you can eat that for your breakfast. I swear to God. And I'm hating every moment of it. So much so, it's affecting my actual everyday life. I think the reason why I didn't go to Fold the other day, right? Fold the other day had a pretty sick party, right, that I didn't attend, called Night Service, that featured a DJ that I really wanted to go check out called Quelza, who I've been a big fan of from afar. I've heard some really good reviews about him. People online are sucking this guy off with both hands on their knees, spit, phlegm, the whole shebang. But he seemed to be like the next big thing out here and stuff. I went to go see Quelza play. But honestly, I was thinking to myself, do I really want to go to Fold? A club where, even though it's not a basement club, it's upstairs sort of, going in there, but it feels like a basement. There's no aircon, there's no windows, no air, no, like, it's just pure sweatbox, which for a rave is amazing because everyone gets to take their tops off, everyone's sexy, everyone's cute, everyone's dancing, having a good time, euphoria, utopia, blah, 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 excess, blah, blah, blah. But when you're heat conscious like I am, maybe going to Fold on one of the hottest weekends of the year, in the run-up to the hottest day of the year, might have been not a good idea. And I'm glad I didn't, because the following day was Unfold too. So I probably would have gone to 2 parties back to back. I couldn't do it. And I'm happy I haven't, which is probably why you haven't seen many reports on here about me going out to certain places. You haven't seen no field reports of me going to Berlin and shit, because I'm avoiding, even Berlin is probably worse than London when it comes to the heat. in Berlin, the summers are real. Like, it is really fucking hot over there. Fair enough, they have a different culture around drinking and shit, and you do get a lot of like places that give you pints in chilled glasses. That's very important. But for the most part, I'm actively avoiding all the places that I love, nightclubs, European techno destinations, and everything else in between, because it's just too warm. And I'm missing out on so many things. I'm missing out on seeing my favorite DJs. I'm missing out on dancing. I'm missing out on going woo, woo, woo. I'm missing out on chilling, hanging out with strangers, sharing people's information on Instagram, and then never messaging them again. I'm missing out on all of these amazing adventures just because my body cannot handle the heat. And sometimes I think to myself, how did I used to handle it before? Because in the past, in the previous time in my life, I was known as an MDMA bandit. In a previous time of my life, I was known as an MDMA bandit. So much so that on any given weekend, I'd have 3.5 grams of that brown, sugary, crystally dust in my pocket somewhere on any given weekend. And if you've ever had MDMA before, you know the highs are very high, but the lows are very, very low. So to be doing that weekend after weekend consistently is pretty wild that my brain is still intact in some way, shape or form. But I'm thinking about it more on the sweat aspect. When you're on MDMA, you sweat, right? As for being, what's his face says, pop the molly, I'm sweating. It's true. So I can't figure out in my head how I was able to live in this heat, summer, right, in London, also do molly, and go out and be sweating the way that I sweat. Because I sweat like this normally. So imagine me on stuff. I'm extra sweating. Like, you know, it's just like juice coming out of my fucking pores. I must have looked so disgusting. But in my head, when I'm remembering those times, all I remember is myself looking cool, looking very dapper, looking very suave, looking very like, I just imagine myself looking amazing. But when I actually think about it and the circumstances around my outgoings and what I was doing, there's no way I looked good. I must have looked like an absolute mess. I must have looked absolutely wild, like a monster. My eyes darting around the place, my jaw swinging from east to west, and me just like leaking, literally leaking. Like the only good thing at the moment about this heat wave, the only good thing is the gym. When you go to the gym now, I found, especially one of the gym that I go to, is pretty decent in terms of aircon. They do a good job of it, but in general, because of the heat, you tend to sweat a lot more. And I love the satisfaction of taking off your shirt or your hoodie and shit and seeing the massive sweat patch on your back or on your chest and shit from you actually putting in a good shift. I love it because I'm a big believer in never trying to overcomplicate your workouts and just try to increase the intensity of it. So it doesn't matter if you're doing, you know, push-ups, sit-ups and squats just at home. If you do them with intensity, that's much better than trying to figure out some complex plan of what to work out with and going crazy. No. Just pick workouts you can do easily without much help, and then make sure you do them with intensity. And nowadays, because it's so warm, if you do just fucking, you know, I don't know, a set of 100 push-ups in the gym somewhere, like for 10 reps each, you will sweat like an absolute pig, which is very satisfying for me after the workout. So I'm enjoying that part of it. But having to cool down, having to spend a good like half an hour in a chair covered in sweat to cool down before you jump in the shower, not a good thing. I've also got this issue at the moment with my shower, which is like, I have to probably get a plumber to come in. The tap, because I've got a bathtub that also has a shower. That's kind of how most UK, no, I'll say most UK. Yeah, I say most UK homes are like that. You have like a bathtub and you also have a shower installed. So the tap thing to, you know, run the shower, unfortunately, you can't really turn it cold. So it always stays warm. It's not like boiling hot, but it's just warm. So I'd like it to turn cold, but I'm afraid if I turn it too much, it might snap or something, you know? So I have to get probably a plumber to come in and maybe recalibrate the turn of the tap so I can easily like turn it from hot to cold. Because at the moment, I'm having to cool down my body temperature before I get into the bath or get into the shower. But when I get into the shower, I'm not having an ice cold shower like I would like to have. I'm having a fucking, you know, a warm shower, which, considering how much I sweat, isn't the right thing. But regardless of all of that and all those complaints, I'm happy to see people on the streets happy. That's a good thing. Most people in London are always scowling, always angry, always upset. The UK is the home of bad vibes. So seeing some people out there happy and having a good time is a good thing, is a good thing. Now, the other thing about summer that I detest and I don't like is the fashion. I've always detested summer fashion. I feel like it's very limiting. And maybe a lot of the limits that I feel with summer fashion might come with, like, maybe me not knowing how to dress for summer weather, because I've never lived somewhere where I've had more months in a year where I'm wearing hot clothes. Most of my time is spent wearing like wintry, autumn kind of type clothes. So maybe I don't have enough practice in it, right? In terms of how to wear stuff. But I honestly do think, especially when it comes to men's fashion, you look at even men's streetwear, for instance. Look at Supreme. All your favorite Supreme collections are usually going to be fall winter collections, not spring summer. They do a good job of doing good spring summer collections, but most of the best streetwear collection of any brand are always going to be fall and winter. So that could be the case. But brendahastag on Instagram did raise a really interesting point that I want to play here regarding this video on maybe some of the issues around summer fashion and why it's so hard to get it right and why it generally sucks in general. And she made some very good points here that I want to kind of piggyback off the back of. So big up brendahastag on Instagram. Let's see what she has to say regarding summer fashions.
You can't love summer and love fashion. Summer is for people who can't dress, in my opinion. I think summer is for hot people, conventionally hot people. You work for their summer body in winter. You get to show off your body and be hot. But I feel like if you love fashion, you love fall, winter, and maybe spring.
I kind of agree with that point already. I agree with that point. I think summer fashion, for the majority of people, only really suits people who look good naked. Let's be fair. It's almost like going to the beach. Going to the beach is only good if you are not obese. If you're obese, it's a bit annoying. You feel too self-conscious. You know, you're wrapped up in your head. You're jumping in the ocean with a t-shirt on. You're doing too much, right? It's all a mess, right? Anytime I see somebody in the pool with a t-shirt on, I just feel sad because they're going through so much shit. It took them so much courage. It took so much effort just for them to leave the house in a t-shirt to get in the pool. And they think they're kind of be incognito and no one can see them. But actually, it's far worse. You're better off just like letting your rolls and your tits and your love handles and your bingo wings hang out loose and free. And more people are unlikely to pay attention to you as opposed to you putting a t-shirt on. You think you're putting a t-shirt on is making you invisible, like as a camouflage, but it actually makes you stand out way more. But I understand the complex of it. Having been a former fat kid, I understand the complex of like thinking, oh, this is going to make people not think I'm fat. It's like, no, we can see. We all have eyes. We can kind of, you know, deduce what is underneath that shirt, and we know it isn't a six-pack. So that might be part of the reason. Like a lot of it, especially if you're in the heat, you know, you feel uncomfortable. You're all stumbling all over the place. So the only really place that I see people look really, I think, good in heat are usually when you go to like hot countries, especially the Mediterranean. You go to the Mediterranean, you see people there who are like acclimatized, you know, with their locale, with their location where they are, and they kind of dress appropriately. They know how to like wear certain things, feet out, legs out, knees out, shoulders out. It just looks suave. Their bodies are in a certain way. That's very, very important in terms of kind of looking good, because it's I would imagine nigh on impossible to look good in summer clothes, especially if you're fat. Obviously, winter clothes help you more because you can put on layers, but it must be quite hard if you're a little bit rotund to look good in the summer. It's not a judgment on you being fat or whatever. It just kind of is what it is. Because I'd imagine in the winter, when you're really fit and skinny, maybe you don't look as good with layers. You look a bit, a little bit all over the place. But when you're fat, maybe you look better in winter clothes. So I agree with brendahastag on that one.
Here, around mid-August, I get depressed. And not because summer's almost over, because I want summer to be over.
To be fair to her though, to give her a little bit of a pushback, she probably gets depressed because she's always wearing black and white. When it's a summer, she's not a fat girl anyway. She's in good shape as well. She probably doesn't look the greatest in summer either because she's a fashion girl that only wears black and white. That's kind of her brand. So when summer comes around and you're wearing all black, you kind of look a bit nuts. It already looks nuts when you're a black person, you do it. It must look equally nuts when you're a white person, you wear black. I know it's meant to be kind of quote unquote cooling, but you do look a bit crazy. So she probably feels uncomfortable and a little bit weird. You probably stick out like a sore thumb because you probably blend in very easily in the winter when you're wearing all black. But in the summer, when you're wearing all black and you're still trying to do the all black like thing, it must look a bit strange and you must feel a little bit self-conscious and blah, 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 blah. So that's probably where a lot of grievances is coming from.
I have worn all my silk dresses, strappy heels, naked the row shoes, worn all my kitten heels and my ballerinas, have rotated all of my sunglasses. I am done. I want to accessorize. I'm wearing one ring and that is making me overstimulated and I feel like I'm sweating on my.
Okay, now she's being a little bit dramatic. But it's a standard girl thing, standard girl shit, but she's being a little bit dramatic. A ring is making you stressed out. Wearing too much jewelry is like literally giving you panic attacks. You need to relax. I like Brenda, but she needs to relax.
Fingers. I want to be in like an oversized coat. I want to wear my boots. I want to be in my jeans, cozy sweater on. I want to wear a belt, tight things without feeling I'm sweating. I want to wear leather.
Basically, there's no way of dressing in the summer without feeling a little bit uncomfortable and sweaty and sticky, which is probably why that Kanye quote is very true. I forgot where he was saying it in an interview somewhere, but Kanye basically said something like, he never dresses for the season. He never dresses for the weather. He dresses based on his fits and he just makes it work. So if it's hot outside and he wants to wear a parka, he's going to wear a parka. And whatever's going on underneath is what's going on underneath. You know, that's it. There is no like dressing for the occasion, which is what we don't do. Even I don't do it. As a guy that's into fashion, into streetwear, even I don't do that. Even I kind of like, you know, take a peek out the window, see what's going on the weather, maybe check the weather app and shit. But Kanye is like steadfast and like, if I want to wear a parka, if I want to wear a hoodie, I'm going to wear it. I don't care what's happening outside. That's the kind of, you know, single-mindedness you have to have when it comes to the fashions. But it's very difficult to do so. Imagine getting on a train with a parka on and sweatpants on and socks on and big boots in this type of weather. Woo!
I want to wear suede. I'm not a complete person in summer because I'm missing all of my stuff. And that doesn't mean my fashion makes me or anything. I just have fun styling things and I'm missing half of me in summer. I don't want to be in a t-shirt. I've had enough of my pleats please. You know, this meme.
To be fair, I think t-shirts should be used way more during the summer seasons than they usually are. I think even myself, I can attest that I have an incredibly extensive, very deep, and kind of cool collection of t-shirts. I'm not gonna lie, I've got a very good collection of t-shirts, especially band t-shirts I bought back in the day that I haven't worn since ever because I don't really go out as much as I used to. But t-shirts probably don't get worn enough as just a t-shirt, especially in London. You always got like a jacket on, you've always got a hoodie on. So summer is actually a good time to actually let your t-shirts, you know, especially your branded t-shirts, your designer t-shirts, your design t-shirts, whatever, you know, breathe and have some life because you're always covering them up. And even more so, imagine if you've got tattoos. If you've got tattoos, you probably never get the chance to actually let your sleeve tattoos show and have some life and get some skin, get some fucking sun and get some air or whatever. So you probably should take advantage of it during the summer and just fucking wear a t-shirt and raw dog it throughout the entire day. Doesn't matter if the weather turns in the evening. Fuck it. Go there.
It's like someone in a puffer jacket. Oh, imagine a puffer jacket right now. It's someone in a puffer jacket and the caption is like, can't wait for it to be colder so I can really start dressing. That's me. I'm waiting.
But then I'm thinking to myself, as much as brendahastag is right in what she's saying here, I'm thinking to myself, can you really call yourself a dresser? Can you really call yourself a stepper? Can you really call yourself a swag guard, right? Can you really call yourself a clothes horse? Can you really call yourself a model, an it girl, an it boy, an icon, if you can't dress in both seasons? And I'm kind of speaking to myself a little bit here, because I think I'm stepping. I think I'm dressing. I think I'm dripping when it comes to the winter. I've got that shit on. I don't play. But in the summer, my fashion is completely, it doesn't exist, right? It doesn't exist. I'm doing what every other guy does. I'm taking the jeans I already wear and just cutting them into shorts. I'm taking t-shirts and cutting them into tank tops. I'm doing the horrible shit. I'm not actually dressing at all. There's no like linens. There's no like pleats. You know what I mean? There's no nothing. I'm not, you know, changing the fabrics and the you know, the buttons and the trouser lengths and nothing cool's happening. It's just fucking jeans cut into shorts, t-shirts cut into tank tops, and we keep it moving. So my fashion sense in the summer is nil point. But I wonder, can you actually say you've got a good sense of style if you can't dress in both seasons? You don't have to be crazy different, but you have to be able to have a style or a sense of style or a wardrobe that's distinctly different from the winter if you want to call yourself an all-round style person. That's probably the thing you have to keep in mind, you'd imagine.
Seen enough of Brad Summer. I want to see some coats. I want to see some boots. I want to see people layering their outfits. Kim, there's people that are dying. Yes. Why are you scrolling on social media then?
Okay, cool. There's Brenda hashtag. Love her. She's amazing. She used to fucking open up her fucking Twitter replies and stop being a fucking pussy. Open your Twitter replies. Let people rock on the replies. But I think she got burned a few too many times. I was like, you know what? Fuck all that shit. You guys are going to get my fits. You're going to get my posts. And we're going to keep it moving. Because, you know, Twitter's kind of mean. So I understand why she said that and did that decision. But I would like for her to open up her Twitter replies. Please, Brenda hashtag, open up your Twitter replies. But she is kind of right with what she's saying. She is kind of right. Winter fashion is the best. Summer fashion is basically people that can't dress. But I also am happy that the fitness people who usually are wearing Gymshark every other day and look terrible have a chance to also show out. I feel like fashion people get a bad rap with how they dress, but they get an opportunity to show out when the summer comes around because they can let their arms out, waist out, midriff out, everything, and everybody's like, ooh, amazing. So they get a chance to shine. Everyone gets a chance to shine. It's a good thing. It's a blood clot good thing. Moving on. And talking about good things, I think this is a really, really good thing. I'm happy to see that finally scamming is kind of over. And when I mean scamming, I mean like soft scamming. You know, like the scamming where like you're a bit shy to do it up front. So you kind of do it through like a conduit, right? You kind of do it through like a proxy. You don't really do it up front. You don't really like own the scam yourself, like a DSP, dark side feel, where you keep lying about, you know, how much money you have. You don't really put numbers on things. You don't want anybody to think you have money so they can keep giving you money. You're just upfront with your scam. Or like a boogie, you just fake the cancer, you just hold it down and stand 10 tones in your lie. I feel like people that kind of soft scam, you know, that kind of like scam from a distance, scam from afar with their hand stretched out because they don't want to be seen as a scammer or like a beggar and stuff, they're the worst type of people. And that sort of scamming is over. Why do I say that? Why do I say that, you wonder? Because of this story courtesy of ITV. It says a carer who found his car was destroyed by Middlesborough rioters after a 12-hour shift left traumatized. So this young gentleman here, his car was left outside in the streets during the race riots that took hold of the UK the last couple of weeks and stuff. And unfortunately, his car was lit on fire and flipped over, as you can see there. Obviously, you know, living where he lives, he needs a car to get around. Everyone was really upset for him. And his workplace decided to start a GoFundMe for him to help support him and his cost of buying a new car. So, I think the goal for the GoFundMe was £3,000. Obviously, very quickly after the outpouring, after people seeing his post and feeling sorry for him, they donated way more money than that. And I think the final total got up to £60,000. Now, the funny thing about this is that even though he got way more than he wanted, which is a good thing, his workplace decided to renege. They decided to renege on the deal, and they said they would only give him 3,000 out of that 60. And they would give the rest of that money left over to charities and shit, because that's all he needed for the car. So I love that, because that is an example of somebody soft scamming from afar, being afraid to really scam with his chest, because GoFundMe is one big giant scam in general, right? Everybody on there is basically scamming for the most part. There are some genuine cases on there, but most people are scamming, especially people within, like, you know, the field of like, oh, I want to get my, you know, I want to get gender reaffirming surgery and shit. There's no bigger scammer than people that want to become trans. They love to recycle that shit, right? And use that money and kind of, you know, run fucking 6 GoFundMes in one calendar year. No one says anything because, you know, you don't want to hurt those people. But in general, everyone's fucking scamming over there. So I love the whole GoFundMe scam thing. But in this particular case, I feel like this particular guy was probably too proud as an Englishman, right? As a British person, probably too proud, you know, to actually beg and ask for the money up front himself. So he let his work beg for him because it made his sob story look hit a bit more harder. But then his work pulled an okie doke on him and said, haha, you thought you was getting 60K. You thought you could quit. You thought you could maybe go and do your own thing, start a business, go move back home with your family. Nah. You are still going to work here. We're going to give you the $3,000. You're going to be happy about it. And I fucking love it. This is proof that scamming from afar is over. If you want to scam now, you have to scam with your full face, You have to put your fucking date of birth out there, your NI number, your passport, your ID. You have to scam with your whole face and your whole chest and take what comes with it. You're going to get people taking the piss out of you in the comments. You're going to get people calling you a beggar, calling you a fucking, you know, wage thief, saying you got your tin cup out, calling you, they're going to give you names. But in the end, you're going to get your money. So you're going to get temporary embarrassment and bullying online. But in the end, you're going to get your 60K because now he's not going to get anything. So the update here says, courtesy of the Shea Borough, the employer who raised 65,000, in the end, it was 65,000 for the man whose car was set alight during the Middlesborough riots, will only give him 3,000. Now, I actually like the GoFundMe platform because if I'm not mistaken, if you don't reach your total, no, I think you have to reach like 75% of your total. Then you get your money. But if you don't get anything. But if you go over it, they still give you it. But then if you go over it, you're also more susceptible to more investigation and checks. So they're gonna double check things. So if they find out that you're maybe raising the money under false pretense, you can lose it, which is heartbreaking. Imagine the people that go on GoFundMe. Most likely, if you're on GoFundMe, you need that money. You're scamming, but you're also scamming to like actually survive, to actually live. You're not scamming to like, you know, as like a crypto millionaire trying to buy another yacht. You're scamming because you actually need groceries. So you actually need that money. So can you imagine scamming and kind of begging for money on GoFundMe, raising more than you actually need, and then not getting the money because of the extra checks and balances they do? Whew, that would hurt, right? Never update regarding this. Another update. Brendan, the guy, speaks out and says he plans to sue his employer and his trauma is now bigger than when he saw his car get burnt. So he did all this shit, right? This whole blurb on the news, videos of his car on fire. He came out on the spot where the car was with his hands on his waist, looking, doing that whole fucking pity party, sob story, X Factor, nonsense type of shit, right? Looking really sad, wanting people to feel sad for him, giving pity donations. It worked, but then it didn't work. I love that it ended up not working for him. So this is actually a video of him talking, I think. Let's just play the video.
Sue my company.
Let's play the video of him actually speaking. I'm curious to see what this guy sounds like and how hurt he must sound in the voice about the situation, because this will break my heart. This was me.
All I wanted was everything to go away. But when Deran came up to destroy the only thing that I hold dear, that was when everything just went wrong. So I thank you guys in whatever you want to do. You want to raise a GoFundMe, that would be great. That would be wonderful. But at this time, the reason why I want to be calm about everything, because if the lawyers I'm contacting, the Nigerian lawyers in the UK here, if I'm contacting and getting in touch with them, they said they're going to get back to me. I'm here to hear from them.
Bro, you're scamming for a car. Like, the whole thing is preposterous. Your car got burnt during a race riot. Cool. It's unfortunate. But you work a full-time job. You could have easily saved that money again and bought yourself a car yourself. You don't need people to give you money to buy a car that you already bought for yourself in the first place. You could easily save another, like maybe not get the £3,000 car. Maybe you were lucky to get that one at that time, the conditions it was in, fair enough. But you don't need to get another car of the exact same value. Just for the time being, you could get yourself a nice little banger, a nice little run around for £1,000 and let that keep it moving and go from there. But instead of doing that, he's wasting money by hiring lawyers. Lawyers for a GoFundMe. Bro, you are down bad.
Then, if they're going to give me a pro bono to sue my company for every last penny they have, for what they did to me, because I don't care about whatever protest that is happening. Is for you to come in and begin to destroy my name because I did not agree to your shenanigans. That is extreme.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Because I know what I'm a nigger myself, right? I'm an NIGGER. I'm a fucking textbook card carrying member of that collective. I know this man. I know this brother. I know this brother was spending that money already. He was spending that money. He was thinking about paying off his his council tax. He might have an overdue phone bill. He's gonna send some money back to his mom. He was gonna buy that suit that he saw in fucking, I don't know, H&M. He was gonna buy himself some fucking Alexander McQueen trainers. He's gonna get himself some Sauvage Dior aftershave. He was maybe gonna go to Nobu. You know, he's gonna get like he already, you know, a nigga. He already had that money. That money was accounted for, bro. Mum's gonna get this. Dad's gonna get that. Bro's gonna get this. A little bit for this. Maybe we're gonna go to fucking. Maybe I'm gonna go to Zante. Right? Maybe I'm gonna go to Magaluf or something, chill out with the broskies and shit. Maybe go to Dubai. He was already counting on that money. Maybe he had some holiday he saved up at work, vacation time. He was looking forward to it. And then his workplace just said, your dreams, over. So cruel.
I don't care about what people say. I move on with my life every day. Even at work, we receive it every day. But I don't care about it. I move on and continue what I came here to do. Because I believe people are different, so I leave them to their own life. But for you to come in, she have not talked to me since yesterday, or said anything, or text me. But for me to come online, just got up this morning, I wanted to prepare for church, and I couldn't anymore. Because
I want to prepare for church. You want to prepare for church, bro? He couldn't pray. That day, he was struggling to pray. Because that's the one day where you think, oh shit, God is real. Because sometimes our faith is very loose, our faith, right? Our faith can be very shaky. We need actual, demonstrable, hard, black and white proof. And sometimes you're like, you know, it's horrible because it's very toxic Christianity. Because sometimes you can be walking down the street, yeah, and you kick someone's wallet on the floor and you see money pour out of it. You pick up and you think, thank God, thank God, thank God. And he's like, hold on, that's theft. You're stealing someone's money. But you think because you prayed so hard that God is now giving you the gift of someone else's hard-earned money, and now you're taking their wallet and their ID and their bank card and you're running it up and you think it's a blessing from God. So in this regard, he probably found it so difficult to pray that day. There's probably the one time he legitimately questioned his faith. He was like, God, if what you give us cannot be taken away, how can this be taken away by the white man? You know, like, it's like, you can't figure it out. Like, what? You blessed me, and now you're unblessing me in real time, in 4K, in public, on social media. Uh-oh.
My roommate just sent me a message, young man, go online. I went online, I saw it. Now, the trauma is bigger than the first day I saw my car. I don't care about what people say. I move on with my life every day, even at work.
To be fair, I like how he's moving with this. The trauma, he's talking about the issues, about his mental health. I love that he's doing that like Karen, white flag, I'm a victim shit, because that plays well with people's emotions. Yeah, you wanna tug at their emotions. You don't want to seem like a strong, like tough, like a strong black man. You don't want to seem like a typical stiff upper lip British person. No. Lean into being a victim. Lean into being a crybaby. Lean into being fucking helpless. Lean into it, like lean into it, because you might actually get your 60K if you do that. You're gonna lose a bit of your dignity. You're gonna lose a bit of your pride, right? You might not look at you might not like what you see of yourself in the mirror. You might not like you see yourself in the mirror, but you're gonna get your money if you do it that way. Because if you do it the other way and you try to act like nothing bothers you, and you know, you actually be a man about it and just keep it moving, you try to run a scam, you got scammed instead, and just keep it trucking, you won't get any money. But if you play into the whole like, my mental health, I can't sleep, I have PTSD, like, ooh, that shit can work. It continues. Here's the update. So here's the update. Here's the update, right? Courtesy of the page. Hi, everyone. Oh my God, Claire's Care. Big up Claire's Care. Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, there's been some speculation about the amounts Brendan would be receiving. Yo, I love the UK. I love my country, and I hate my country. I love my country because we are so unapologetically bad vibes. We hate people making money, even if it's like in a scam. That's why I feel like sometimes I kind of love America, because America, like even the American dream, is partly about like, what can you get away with? The American dream is almost like get away with whatever you can get away with at all costs in order to help you and your family. That's kind of what the American dream seems like. If you can kind of find a loophole to kind of get yourself out of poverty and shit and get your family a nice crib, a couple of cars, you know, a business, like get yourself nice, situated and shit. Woo, you're sorted. But I think in the UK, we have a lot of like, I don't know, just bad vibes, animosity against people who figure it out, people who flaunt it, and people who kind of scam the system. We don't like it. Like, there's people in the UK, which is bizarre to me. There's people in the UK that take pleasure and sometimes take it like like it's a job to them. They call up the government to fob in wage thieves. I mean, fucking benefit thieves. People that maybe scam the benefit system and get kind of like, you know, maybe they say they got universal credit, but they say they have an entire family. So they make, you know, they claim money for an entire family, but there's no family. Or maybe they claim money for like 4 people, you know, separately and shit. And they collect all that money. People will fob you in the UK. If you use your house as like an after hours bar spot hangout shit, your neighbor will call the council on your ass. Like, people don't like when people like figure out a little loophole and get some money. People in the UK hate it. There's so many snitches, so many Karens, so many curtain blind twitches and shit. It's awful. So I'm not surprised this guy's scam didn't run. But it's good to see it in full HD 4K that the UK is the textbook definition of bad vibes. And here, you can't get away with shit, really. If you get away with it, you have to kind of just like, shut the fuck up. But you can't really. Because people are always looking to scam you because they are afraid, they're pissed off that you kind of got to the scam first. It's a weird place to live in. Let's continue. Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, there's been speculation about the amounts Brendan will be receiving. We always intended to fund Brendan's new car, along with additional expenses, and stated that anything further would go to help our staff and local charity organizations in areas helping those that were affected by the riots. Blood clot. It was his car on fire. His car, look, his car getting flipped, getting harangued by violent youths, right? National Front fucking racismos, right? Burning his car to the ground. Legitimately burning his car to the ground. And this lady is talking about giving some of that money to the other staff members. What? Oh my God. To clarify the exact amounts we have set out are as follows. Brendan will receive £28,000 to cover the cost of his new car and insurance. Our staff who were affected will receive £1,000. Local charities will receive £36,000, £10,000 of which will be decided to go to the Cleveland police officers that were involved in. Imagine you raise 65 grand because your car got lit on fire by a bunch of fucking racismos, and then they're giving a portion of your 65 grand to the fucking feds. Do you know how fucking angry you'd be? They're giving some of your money to the police. The police that weren't protecting you, that were for the most part protecting some of those racists that were coming after you based solely on the color of your skin, and they're giving them money. For what? Fair enough, right? Fair enough. If these racists, or if these police officers were actually in the middle, stopping both sides from being violent. But I saw a lot of that riot footage online, right, and offline. And a lot of that footage, I saw a lot of very pale, pasty-looking white people in Lonsdale sneakers chasing after black people like we were living in the fucking, you know, in the fucking 60s in America or some shit. And they weren't stopping them. They were letting them kick them in the head, punch them, spit at them, do all sorts of madness. So, those same police officers, I'm sorry, you don't get no money. You don't get no money. You did your job very poorly. You don't get any money. I'm sorry, especially not about 65,000. It continues. Another 10,000 will go to the cleanup, which includes 2 churches in Middlesborough and 2 mosques. I swear the guy's Christian. Why would he be donating a portion of his proceeds to a mosque for their cleanup? Don't they have other people in their community that can help do that? Plus, I'm a fucking Christian. Why do I do that? What? The remaining amount will go to another organization, charities, and will continue to update the fundraiser as we decide on this. If you do not wish your donations to be used as outlined above, please be assured that you can request a refund on donations over the week by contacting GoFundMe's team here. So Claire, or the person from this company, is standing on business and saying, we never agreed to give him all the money. we agreed to give him a portion of the money to cover the cost of his car and his insurance. But the rest of it was going to go to the team. That is a piss take. Especially when most likely this Brendan fellow was counting on that P. He had already promised his parents, his siblings, his relatives certain amounts. He had probably holidays booked in. He probably even sent a request in to HR to get his holiday approved coming up in the summer. He probably had holiday books in or backed up that he never used. He was looking forward to his vacation, and they completely crushed this guy's dreams, which like I said before, I don't mind. Because like I said before, I think fake or like soft scamming is over. If you want to scam, if you want to beg for money, you have to beg up front. You have to ask, give me money. You have to open your hands out and say it with your whole chest. Put your GoFundMe in your fucking link in bio. Have it shared all over your social media page. Really lean into it. Start crying on Instagram. You have to really lean into the sob story, the victimhood complex if you want that money. You can't do that whole like, oh, I'm going to let my workplace do it. No. That's the price you paid. You tried to kind of do it from afar. You didn't want to look like you were begging. You didn't want to look like you were in need. And now look, you got fucked over. So that's what you get. But here's the statement from the boss of this place, right? This is the boss of the place. The boss of the place where this guy works at, the queen, the fucking, you know, the hater in residence said as follows. The first and last statement I'll be issuing in relation to the speculation on the GoFundMe page. I won't be replying to any comments. You know when somebody says that as an opening paragraph, they're gonna be on some bullshit. She already saying, look, I don't even want to talk about this, but I'm gonna talk about this one last time. I'm not gonna answer any questions. Claire is a fucking bad vibes queen. Firstly, when we made the GoFundMe page, we stipulated that we were raising money for a car for Brendan and for charities supported with the riots. Therefore, any of that donation donated for those two things. Look at that fucking, look how she, that's the owner of a company. Therefore, anyone that donated for those two things. When the GoFundMe page reached a high, as it did, me and Brendan spoke about the car and he would like, and asked, yo, honestly, only certain people can have this kind of run with. Because not to be that kind of guy, he does look a bit meek. He does look a bit, you know, a little bit pleasant. He does look a bit happy, you know. He's the kind of guy when his white colleagues say, oh my God, your hair, can I touch it? He's like, yeah. I mean, he's one of the type of kind of guys, right? He was a little bit happy and pleasant. But there's no way that I'm stipulating or discussing or like brainstorming what car I'm going to buy with my fucking work. It's none of your fucking business. I don't care you set up the fucking GoFundMe. Go and spin on two of my middle fingers. I'm not discussing to you what I'm about to purchase. Like, mind your fucking business. But in this respect, you probably saw it as like, they're trying to help me. This is my workplace. It's like, look, one thing you have to always learn, especially in a capitalist world. In a capitalist world that we live in, your employer is not your friend. They pay you for your time. You give them your time for money. But they are never, and they will never ever be your friend. Always go into any interaction with your workplace. Unless it's your own workplace you do for yourself, cool. Then you're lucky. You can do what you want. Kudos to you. But if you work for the man, the woman, the dems, they are never your friend. Doesn't matter what they say, what they look like. Even worse if they're from the same community as you. If they have the same outlook on life as you, they are not your friend. Same goes for HR. HR aren't there to protect the staff. HR are there to protect the company from the staff or from the employees. Be very cautious of that. Anyway, it continues. When we go to the family page reached a high, as it did, me and Brendan spoke about the car that he would like, and I asked if I could help him find one. This Brendan guy is whatless. This is what I've said before in the past, and I think I'm gonna stand by this in my full 10 toes, ashy, dusty feet. I believe people who go on holiday with their friends, people who go on like work trips with their friends, people who go out on dinner with their friends and do that thing where they ask you what's on the menu, or they basically ask you to give them a rundown on the itinerary on what you're going to do on holiday or what sites they should check out, and don't use Google for themselves. Those people deserve everything bad that's going to happen to them on holiday. Losing their keys, losing their passport, their phones, whatever bad happens to them, they deserve it. Because people that act like that helpless and always need help, oh, can you help me find a car? Can you help me do this? Can you help me book into this? It's like, this is what you get. You acted helpless. It worked in some respects because it probably got you the job because you're like this lovable teddy bear type of person. They all wanted to help you out. You kind of don't speak English well. They kind of want to integrate into the company. They want to feel like they're doing a good deed by helping out this person that might be like a name. You know what I mean? All this sort of nonsense. He led into that, and it worked for him. But then in the end, ended up biting him in the ass because they took the piss out of him. It continues. He also informed me of specific church he would like some of the money to go to. I have received so much hate for not letting the GoFundMe give to Brendan the full 60K when that would be illegal, as we would have misled donations or donators by saying some of it would go to charities. We have requested GoFundMe directly pay Brendan charity so no money passed through our account. GoFundMe has agreed to release funds once people have 7 days to request a refund if they so wish. If anything, doing this GoFundMe page has cost us money, having to seek legal advice for slander and false statements published. If I've had parenting questions, threats, countless phone calls, voicemails, texts, emails, we've deactivated our Facebook and Instagram page due to the comments that we are scammers and that the money lies with GoFundMe. We don't receive any of it into our business. We've had to report threats. Hold on, did they say some of it goes to the people that work at the company? So obviously she's lying. Some of it's going to go to churches, charity. He's going to get 28K out of the 65. And I think she mentioned something like 1,000 is going to go to other staff. So is it going through you guys or not going through you guys? That's the question. It continues. We don't receive any of the business. We don't receive any of it into our business. We've had to report threats to the police. Trolls online that are wanting us to run this business into the ground by putting 100+ career jobs at risk posts despite claiming to love and support carers. None of it makes sense. People. It continues. Is there more there? None of it makes sense. I've received so much hate for not telling GoFundMe to give Brendan the full 60K. We've had myself and Ellie Smart are mothers. We are normal people that go above and beyond for their employers and try to do the good thing. People that preach about mental health in the meantime, pushing someone into the worst place of their lives. Thank you for the people that have always supported us and continue to do so in these horrific times. Yo, first of all carers, to be fair, carers are like nurses, isn't it? They think way too much of themselves anyway. People that work in care are some of the worst people you'll ever meet. Goes with nurses. Nurses think they're legitimately angels. Carers think they're God's gift to the earth. Like, the ego in some of these people is fucking obscene. And I love seeing these people being brought back down to earth and be reminded, hey, you are a scumbag and you're a piece of shit just like the rest of us. Just because you got your little fucking carer thing on and you look after people that are vulnerable and bro, you get paid a good salary to do so. You're in a job industry or a market where there's not a lot of turnover. Essentially, once you get your licenses or you pass your accreditation, whatever you need to do to work in that place, you basically have a job for life. Like, don't act like you're being this like altruistic person. You're doing it because it's got good job security. You make good, decent money. The hours are pretty decent as well. You get good vacation times, blah, 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 blah. But these motherfuckers walk around like they are legitimately untouchable. So it's good to see everybody see them in the light and see them for the scammers that they actually are. They're the worst. They're the worst people in the world. I swear to God. Yes, the job that they do is somewhat noble, but fuck off with this whole like holier than thou shit. You are pieces of shit and scammers just like the rest of us. In this situation, it's easy. The right thing to do in this situation would have been to just give the guy the whole 60K. We all know that, right? But the main mistake this kid made, the biggest mistake that he made, is letting his company set up the GoFundMe for him. The moment he let his company set up the GoFundMe for him and push that narrative of him being helpless and him not knowing what he's doing and needing help and needing support from his community, they took the piss out of him. And I think justifiably so. Because I think he was ashamed of the GoFundMe. He didn't want to seem like he was begging, so he did it through a conduit, through a proxy. And then he ended up getting scammed, which is why I say, if you want to scam, if you want to beg, if you want to do a little bit of an okie doke on the internet, do it, but do it with your chest. The days of like doing scamming and all that shit and trying to have your hands clean, they don't exist. People are going to see your fucking trail, your breadcrumb trail of scams. They're going to see the 6 or 7 GoFundMe pages you set up in a calendar year. They're going to question, Where have the funds gone? They're going to maybe make YouTube videos about you. They might try and cancel you. This might happen. But you're still going to get your money, right? So you're going to have to play the game. You know, you're going to get cancelled. You might get embarrassed. You might get ridiculed online. You might get harassed, harangued, all that shit. But you get your money in. Because if he would have done it for his own account, if he would have done it for himself on his own platform, he would have got that money. Especially being a fucking minority. There's no way GoFundMe would have forced him to give money to charity. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have wanted to seem like a platform that was withholding money from a black man. But nah, they would never have done it. But if he should have done it for himself. He did it for his company. They fucked him over, and he really can't complain now. He really, really can't complain now. But I absolutely do love the flagrant nature as of which we hate in this country. We hate so hard, we hate so true, that even your place of work, doing something that might seem like a good thing, inevitably will try and fuck you. That's the main message of this story. So big up Brendan. Hopefully he gets his money. Hopefully he gets his money. Actually, hopefully not. I don't want to get his money. Fuck him and his money. Save up for me a job and get your car yourself. Don't fucking go and GoFundMe. Like, GoFundMe should be reserved for people that actually need it. You don't need to, like, raising £3 on GoFundMe is useless. Like, you use GoFundMe for fucking £10,000 increments. You don't use GoFundMe for £3 grand. You know what I mean? That's fucking preposterous. Go to work, save up your money like the rest of us, and buy yourself a car on fucking eBay or something. You don't need GoFundMe to fucking make you your money. That's what I think. But what do I know? What do I know? Switching gears a little bit onto football. As you can see here, courtesy of Sky Sports News regarding Man United, Wan-Bissaka has completed his deal to sign with West Ham permanently. I'm happy about that. I feel like we got the best years and the best time out of Wan-Bissaka. I feel like at the moment, even though his recovery pace is still there, his recovery tackling and, you know, whatever the Spider-Man leg things that he does is still of a high standard. I feel like at the moment, his defensive attributes overall have kind of dipped, especially in the last 18 months or so. So we're probably getting rid of him at the right time. And in general, the really sad thing about Wan-Bissaka is that if he had an end product, if he was capable of crossing the ball into the box, forget shooting and stuff, that's not going to happen, right? Forget all that shit. But if he was able to cross the ball into the box, he legitimately might be one of the best fullbacks in the world. If he had the ability to just put a good low cross into the box, a good header, you know, a good ball into the air, into the box, from time to time, he might be one of the best fullbacks in the world. But for some reason, he's one of the professional footballers who he doesn't have an ability to like lift the ball. He can't cross. His dribbling is like, I don't know, he makes Jude Bellingham look like Messi sometimes where he dribbles. It's also like clunky and uncoordinated, but he's very aggressive, very fast, very tenacious. He clearly enjoys tackling. I, for one, wasn't the biggest fan of his recovery tackles all the time. I feel like that like last-ditch recovery tackle thing is more of an evidence that you're not defending well. If someone has to, like, you know, last-ditch defend in that way, it means that you're doing something wrong. So I was never the biggest fan of it. But for that style of defending, and considering how terrible United have been in the last few years that he's been there, he was very necessary. And we're probably going to miss him because we don't really have, I can't really think of many players in our team now who have that recovery pace that he does. You know, to kind of, especially if a ball's over the top and somebody skimmed the defender. I don't think there's many players in our team who are fit. The only person I can think of who is not fit is Luke Shaw, but Luke Shaw can't be depended on, can't be relied on, and probably should have been let go many years after, or many years before. But we don't really have a player in our squad at the moment who can do that. So we're going to miss that, but I think it's a good deal for both parties. Wish him all the luck. Hope that he smashes it. Continuing on, we've also got some announcements here regarding De Ligt and Mazraoui signing for United. I'm actually happy about De Ligt. I've always rated Mathias De Ligt. I've always thought he was a definite United player, and I feel like it's very, very good value for money. I think all in all, we're paying like £40 million for him essentially. For somebody that just turned 25, somebody that's got a lot of potential. Maybe his injury record is not the best, but I think that's kind of behind him. I think prior to the recent injury he got, he did play quite a lot of games for Bayern Munich, especially under Tuchel. He looks a decent player. I like his personality. He's actually as a defender are really good too. He's kind of a front foot defender. He loves to tackle. He's good on the ball, good at heading. He's a good all-round defender in general. And the most important thing for me is that he's a bit of a leader. I feel that's important too. He's a leader, and I think at this stage of his career, coming into this United team, there might be a scenario where he might end up being, you know, a future captain, a vice captain, and we need a lot of those big, strong personalities in our team. So I'm happy to see him. Mazraoui, I don't know much about him, to be completely honest. I know that he can play as a left back, so that'll be an option going forward because we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have a fit left back to play at the moment because Luke Shaw is, you know, I don't think the rumors or the story has been confirmed by anybody that he is injured, but allegedly the story going out there that he might be, so I'm really worried about that one. So we don't really have any left back, so we kind of have to make do with Mazraoui. But the major thing for me that I'm really bothered about and worried for going through the season, midfield. We are still incredibly light in midfield. I feel like even before all these other signings, we probably still needed 2 midfielders to come in, at least 2. I feel like one to cover Bruno's position and one to cover Casemiro's position. I feel like without those 2 positions being covered adequately with good standard players who can challenge their position in the team, I don't mean bench warmers, I mean actual starting material players who can challenge, because I feel like Bruno Fernandes, for all the good he's done for us as a player, I personally don't like the fact that he has an uncontested spot in the team. I detest that in general. I think all sports at all levels, you should require every position to have adequate competition for places. I feel like competition for places, sometimes even regardless of the managers, I feel like you saw that a lot with Chelsea during the Roman Abramovich era. I feel like because they always had like 3 good players for every position, it meant that regardless of the manager, everyone was kind of like fighting for their dinner every training session. And that kind of seeped into how professional they were in the teams, in their match days and stuff. And I feel like with United, with the fact that we have players at the club who probably should not be at the club still, Harry Maguire's, Scott McTominay's, Luke Shaw's, all these type of people, we also don't really have the quality to maybe make them worried about their place in the squad overall. And I feel like a lot of these players get away with murder. So I feel like even though Bruno Fernandes has a very good attitude, has a very good work ethic, clearly is a very important part of our team, our success, however little that's been, I feel like him being uncontested is not a good thing. Obviously, then we go into Casemiro. Casemiro had a very bad previous season. Very bad last season. Ended the season fucking terribly. And he was so bad, he didn't even start the FA Cup final. Allegedly, he left and went back home. He didn't even stay for the lifting up of the trophy and shit. And it was looking like he was going to leave, but I don't think the Saudi clubs came in for him with an adequate bid. So most likely he's going to stay. He's not happy about it, and it looks like his legs have gone, which is unfortunate because we haven't really got that much use out of him. We basically got 1 good season out of him, and now he's basically gone, or maybe half of a good season. So we always have needed a cover for Casemiro, whether he stays or he goes, because he's always gonna, you know, pull in maybe a couple of 1 out of 10 performances. So we really do need midfield cover, regardless of what we do at left back, up front. We really do need midfield cover desperately. And I feel like we need 2 midfield cover. We need cover for Bruno Fernandes. We need that cover for like the number 10, number 8 position. And we also need that number 4, number 6 position cover as well, because it looks like most likely Christian Eriksen is still going to be here next season, which I'm not happy about, but it is what it is. Maybe we're going to promote some youngsters from the youth team, but we need some 2 senior players to come into that midfield, because if not, we are fucked. We are really fucked. And I know, you know, there's players mentioned for DM, but I feel like even a Bruno Fernandes position is needed a lot, because I would be okay with maybe just going for a DM and keeping our options up for going forward like that. But I don't feel like Erik ten Hag trusts Christian Eriksen. I personally don't trust him. I think his legs are gone as well. But as we saw in the Euros, if you play Christian Eriksen in his favourite position, if you play him as a number 10, you can actually get some joy out of him. But we don't ever rotate Bruno Fernandes. That's a problem. We don't ever drop Bruno Fernandes for another number 10 to play that role. That's the issue that I'm having. So if you're not gonna rotate Bruno Fernandes, then what's the point? You know what I mean? It just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I hope that changes. But either way, business has been decent overall. But I'm really hoping that we do bring in a couple of midfielders into that squad to really bolster our options and to make people actually worried about their spots in the team. Because I feel like at the moment, a lot of these players are too comfortable. A lot of these players are too blood clot comfortable. Moving on. We got this announcement courtesy of Variety about Fred again. Fred again announces a new intimate album called 10 Days featuring Skrillex, Fortet, and Emmylou Harris. Now, I'm still of the thinking that a lot of the hate that's kind of like steered towards Fred again's direction is a little bit overbaked and overdone. And being the consummate contrarian that I am, I feel like because everybody hates on Fred again, I kind of want to support him just because everyone hates him, right? But I listen to the music and I think to myself, maybe a lot of the hate is justified because I just don't understand how that music has garnered that level of hysteria and support. You see some of his shows, some of his concerts in arenas and shit, the scale of the production, the amount of people, the hysteria, the demand, and you're like, wow, this guy's got a genuine fan base. And from what I can gather, from my little knowledge of his upbringing and his origin story, most of the hype kind of came around COVID times. He kind of popped during COVID. A lot of people's careers happened during COVID because everyone was locked in at home, couldn't do much, and certain people were really smart and really on it and kind of pounced and just kept creating and putting content out there for people to enjoy, maybe take their mind off things, blah, 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 blah. And Fred again was one of the type of people that was able to do that. But apart from that kind of like, you know, COVID bubble, lockdown shit, we're all in this together, help people, you know, whatever sort of nonsense, happy-go-lucky, like COVID gospel music shit that he was making, I just can't figure out what else people find good about it. Like, it's just not that great. Like, I can understand people like Skrillex, I can understand people like Forte, but when it comes to Fred again, I just can't get down with the music. But I really want to, just to be a contrarian, because I feel like people hate on Skrillex to sort of like signify they have good taste. I feel like a lot of it happens that way. Because I feel like a lot of people, especially that commentate on music, especially dance music, electronic music, they don't really let you know with any kind of level of enthusiasm what they like. You never see them actually very much boasting about and really preaching and prophesying, you know, proselyting or whatever about the artists they like. They don't do that. But when it comes to hating on Fred again, they will fucking write essays about his upbringing and about him being posh and rich and his dad maybe being a Zionist or this or that, whatever. But when it comes to actually talking about people that they like, they have nothing to say. So I feel like part of me just wants to support him just because. So I am kind of looking forward to the album, I'm not going to lie. So this is courtesy of Variety. It says Fred again has announced his new album titled 10 Days, set to release in September 6th. The album made up of 10 songs about 10 days. Wow. Who would have guessed it? Either it's an album that was made over 10 days or it's an album about 10 days. But or it's an album about the 10 days that changed his life, or the 10 days that were most important to him, or the 10 days after his friend committed suicide, or whatever. Wow, we don't care. It continues. Featuring the previously released singles Adore You, 10, Places to Be. So it's already featuring 3 big singles that are already out at the moment doing numbers. This album is going to do fucking numbers. It's going to do fucking numbers. Featuring Addison Paak and Chica, a vinyl release will follow on October 25th. Additional artists listed as contributors on the album include Skrillex, Forte, Emily Lou Harris, Japanese House, Obongo Jaira, Josie, Jimmy Legacy. Oh, Jim Legacy. Wow, he's going to be on there. That's a good look for him. Very good look. That's a very good commercial look for Jim Legacy. Big up Jim Legacy. Sampha, Soak, Joy Anonymous. Oh, Joy Anonymous is not Joy Orbison, I'm assuming. I'm assuming this is some other like palace-wearing dickhead that rolls their own cigarettes and wears white socks with Reeboks. This gives me that kind of feel. When I look at Joy Anonymous, I think of somebody that's going to wear like beanies rolled up and shit and has like a weird haircut, like for sure. But Scott Hardkiss, I like that name actually. Fred again wrote in a post on Instagram announcing the album, there's been a big, mad, crazy moments in the last year, but basically all these are really, really quiet, small, intimate moments. Oh, fuck, honestly, he's so cringy, innit? Even the captions he writes, he's so cringy. That's probably why he's so successful. He's like he's an adult male, but he communicates like a teenage girl. Like on social media, like that vulnerability, like he's got that fucking autistic tism thing going on where he's kind of like in the strungs of maybe going in through some sort of spasm before he makes a song. Do you know what I mean? Maybe some people like him. Oh, he's so soft and vulnerable. He's talking about his friend that offed himself on the central line. You know, all that sort of shit. He's playing his shitty fucking tunes on the NPC, trying to mix on a fucking laptop. Like, there's things about him that are so hard to like, but because everyone hates him, I want to like him. You know, it's just, I find it hard when I read these captions though. Let's do it again. there's been a lot of big, mad, crazy moments in last year, but basically all these have been really, really small, quiet, intimate moments. Some of them are like the most intensely joyful things I've felt, and some of them are like the other side of things. And some days I don't want to speak about loads because I'm not the only person that's important day for it. Oh, fuck off. Honestly, fuck off, man. Honestly. What next? Free Palestine at the end, eh? Fucking hell. This guy, man, he is the worst. He's a walking cringe machine. The album follows the ever-evolving USB, an album that Fred again has added songs to, treating it more or less like an expanding playlist, and 2023 Secret Life, a collaborative ambient project with brendahastag. You see, when the white people do this, like, what you call it, updated playlist album shit, they laud them, they praise them. When Kanye does an album that's unfinished but updates and is a sort of like living organism and kind of changes along the time, people chastise him about it. You see the differences. You see the differences. You see how they treat us. White people do it, oh, it's a fucking living, breathing playlist. Black people do it, oh, Kanye's not serious, he's not finishing albums. It's like, shut up. The release of 10 Days follows Fred again's recent surprise performances at Glastonbury, where he played a 30-minute ambient set, the Rising Sun pub in Pensford, Somerset, where he performed 75 fans alongside a Japanese house. The electronic music wonder kid has also been a wonderful handful of dates across Europe, and starting with the Way Out Festival in Sweden. To be fair to him, I do like this side about him. I do like this unconventional approach to performing. He could easily just do loads of O2 arenas if he wanted to. But I like that he takes his sound and he tries to do it in cool, interesting places for his fans. He tries to like actually touch and see his fans. I saw a video of him recently playing on some canal somewhere in Scandinavia, and it looked fucking amazing. He's sitting on a canal with like his full band playing in front of an audience of people like sitting on the floor, people going past on boats watching, people on the other side of the river, people on the bridge. Like, it looked absolutely amazing, right? Everybody there is white as can be, clearly because it's Scandinavia, but it's amazing to see allies of his level do kind of like grassroots, up and coming artist type of shit. You know, obviously it's good for the social medias, it's good for all that sort of shit, and I can look at it cynical that way, but I think it's cool because he could just easily just keep doing baseball arenas and everyone will be fine. But I like that he kind of can do those big production things with pyrotechnics and massive LED screens, but he can also go and do those things and touch his fans and hang out with them in that regard. So I'm glad to see that. And obviously here's all the thank yous you see on there of people that are going to be performing on the actual album itself. A lot of people on there that are not super hyped as well. So that's a good look for them. And I think it's a good look for him too, because it shows that, you know, he's out there fucking putting on people that aren't that well known because he just likes their music. I fucking love that. And I actually can't wait for the album. I really can't wait. I might actually do a live listening thing on that on my Kick. So if you're not subscribed to my Kick, make sure you do subscribe to my Kick. Follow me on there. It's kick.com/Agostino Zinga. You're able to find the link to it in my description. I'll probably do a lot more album reviews on there coming up. So definitely keep an eye out on that, because I can't wait to see what Fred again puts out and how he makes all of the haters online seethe and rage at all the things that he does. Talking about seething and raging, we need to talk about Kanye West, Ty Dolla Sign, Vultures 2. I absolutely hated it, and I find it really hard to hate on Ye because he's my GOAT and I love the guy, and I think Vultures 1 was fucking fantastic, but I felt like Vultures 2 wasn't necessary. We didn't need it right now. It didn't need to be rushed, and it felt unfinished. And for me personally, maybe I'm in the minority here, but I don't personally enjoy listening to leaks or listening to unfinished albums. I'll listen to them for the sake of listening to hear what they were working on, what their ideas were, but I want the artist, the recording artist, wherever they are, to present the album to me in its finished form when it's ready, when they want it. That's it. I don't care about receiving an album early and then having you update it along the way with finished tracks and add this and clear that. No. When it's finished, present it to me. Then I'll listen to it. Then I'll fan out. I'll fucking consume it in all ways possible. Play on my phone, on my speakers, play through my fucking, you know, noise cancelling headphones. I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to talk about it on all my platforms. I'm going to spread the word of it. I'm going to be an enthusiastic fan. But don't give me half-finished work and expect me to A, be enthusiastic about listening to it, and B, enjoy listening to it in the first place. It's just not going to happen. And I'm really upset because there are embers of good songs on this album. There are bits and pieces of good songs, potentially classic songs that could go into Ye's archive of some of his greatest hits. But unfortunately, they're just so badly put together. They're so half done. It's not even worth talking about them. You know, that's the issue. Like some of the tracks, you can clearly hear that he's used AI. He's not even bothered enough to actually go and re-record his verses. It was always concerning to me when Ye would perform in some places and not know his lyrics. It would concern me that. But then you look at his discography and there's some man and stuff he's penned, you know, it's kind of hard to remember every single one of your tunes. But sometimes with some of the hits, you're like, rah, bro, you don't even remember the hits. You're not even making an effort to remember, to recite the hits at least before the show. None whatsoever. In a particular album, you saw it. You listened to tracks that clearly had been punched up with AI to kind of fill in the gaps for him, maybe because he wasn't able to re-record vocals. And I don't want that. I'd rather you leave those tracks off for that album. But I think in general, what I got from listening to this didn't feel like Vultures 2. This felt like a lot of songs that didn't make it to Vultures 1, because I feel like Kanye, apart from any other artist out there, maybe with the exception of maybe Tyler, the Creator, I feel like he's a really strict and harsh editor. Like, he really edits his albums. Like, when stuff doesn't end up on an album, like, you know what I mean? Like, when you hear the stuff that's been left off, you're like, fucking hell. Any other artist would put that on their album. But Kanye is very particular and very methodical about his albums, how they're sequenced and everything. So if something doesn't work, you'll just cut it off, even if it sounds like a banger. But in this particular album, I felt like this sounded like a bunch of stuff that didn't make it on Vultures 1, that they then hurried to try and finish and put on Vultures 2. This could have probably been a bonus deluxe thing. That would have been okay, maybe. It might have changed the perception of it. But I feel like quality-wise, it's just too bad, man. It's just too bad to even dignify with a review, which is really sad, because I feel like Kanye, even though he's not the greatest rapper anymore, even though he's a little bit, you know, off the reservation with some of the stuff he's up to, and maybe has the worst people around him at maybe the best time of his life, he's got the worst people around him, right? The time when he has the most money, the most freedom, the most creative control, he has the worst people around him, basically siphoning off cash from him and just being absolute leeches. All that being said, he showed us with Vultures 1 that he has the ability to still get into the booth and pen some amazing songs, put together some amazing music, and create some amazing moments. Unfortunately, Vultures 2 had none of that, and I will not, under any circumstances, be listening to that ever again. It was absolutely garbage, legitimately. And I don't ever say that about Kanye's music, and it upsets me to have to say that. Moving on to something that I didn't think was garbage. Let's talk a little bit about Latto. Latto just dropped her new album called Sugar Honey Iced Tea. Now, off the strength of it, I think the name is a bit lame. I hate the cover image, personally. But we get back to her, you know, congruency as a person. But I feel like, because I don't know much about Latto, and I only hear about her antics online, the drama, the beef, the whatever else, it was a good reminder to listen to this album from the front to the back, from the top to the bottom, and actually hear somebody that's actually good at what they do. When it comes down to it, like, take away all the drama, take away all the fluff, all the nonsense on social. When it comes to actually being a hip-hop artist, when it comes to actually putting together music or putting an album together or putting songs together, Latto is very, very good. Very, very talented. A very, very good artist, to the point where I'm thinking she's probably above, like, the Megan Thee Stallion sort of, like, caliber when it comes to an artist overall. Like, she's very fucking good. And I'm usually not the biggest fan of a lot of these female rappers and shit. I feel like a lot of their, you know, content is a bit, you know, redundant and the same and recycled, and the songs kind of all sound the same and shit. But I feel like Latto has definitely carved out a lane for herself and reminded people that she's actually very talented. And I feel like the sequencing of the album, the way it was put together, how Georgia Peach started, how, you know, the some of the hits on there, some of the features, especially some of the R&B features, Honcho, Coco Jones, Ciara on there, Maria the Scientist, Taz's Touchdown song was banging. Like, she went in. This is a very, very, very good album. There's even a track here that's missing. Allegedly, the song here called Blixum, which I fucking love, had a Playboy Carti verse, which I listened to, but in classic Playboy Carti fashion, I don't think he cleared the verse, but the verse was pretty good. So that would have been a pretty sick way to start an album, where in the first 6 tracks, you have fucking a young nudie, a sick young nudie feature, and you have fucking Playboy Carti on there. Didn't happen, didn't transpire, but regardless, I fucking love the album itself. My favorite tracks on there might be Cooper Cove with Honcho. Might be Prize Position with Tesla Touchdown, and might be Big Mama as well. I'm not mad at that. Now, the only thing that I don't like about Latto in general, I feel like there's something not quite genuine with her as a person. I'm not too sure what it is. I don't know much about the person, but I feel like a lot of the like lingo, a lot of the slang and shit, I feel like it was a bit overdone. It's a bit unnecessary. It came a bit too heavy-handed. Like the constant references to Atlanta and where you're from, and really being from the streets and shit. I feel like it was a little bit played up, hammed up a little bit. It felt like to me. Now, it could not be true. I'm not too sure. Maybe because she's a young artist, she kind of needs to, you know, get comfortable with herself and her own skin. But I feel like there's too much on that at the moment. I also don't like, for me, this comparison people are making with saying that, I think I saw Joe Budden saying it on his podcast, that they think that Latto is maybe a better rapper than Doja Cat. I feel like it's incredibly insulting, because what it does is that it kind of takes away from Doja Cat's skill level, because I feel like Doja Cat probably doesn't really enjoy rapping that much anyway. Probably would rather just do music in general and just cover whatever genre that she feels inspired by at that particular time and be genre-less and just make great music. But when she needs to rap, she can rap her fucking arse off. Doja Cat is really up there when it comes to rappers. Like, she's fucking really fucking good. She's on a league of her own. Let's not compare her to these other girls. Like, they're not stepping to her at all. Maybe we can say comfortably now, Latto definitely raps better than Ice Spice. Yes, we can definitely say that. I would go as far as saying I think Latto makes better music than Ice Spice. Maybe Ice Spice is maybe hotter and maybe more cool, I think. I don't think Latto is actually cool. I think she's a good looking girl, but I don't think she's cool. Maybe why we're seeing all this hammed up Atlanta references and stuff and trying to appear like you're down and shit and from the streets and stuff, it's a bit too much. Maybe Ice Spice has already got all that already naturally. That kind of helps. But to suggest that Latto is better rapper than Doja Cat, I felt like it's incredibly insulting to Doja Cat. And I'm not even the biggest Doja Cat stan. I feel like she's, you know, sometimes the albums can be a little bit, you know, they can kind of flatter to deceive, I feel like, overall. But I feel like with this recent tour that she's been on and her performing in London for Wireless Festival and just in general some stage shows we've seen, there's no denying that if there's anybody within the girls category, female category of music, the only person that's going to come close to ever touching Nicki Minaj's level is Doja Cat. Like, she's that level of talent. Like, she's a freak. So to suggest that Latto is better than her is fucking insulting. But is Latto better than Megan Thee Stallion? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Is she better than Glorilla? Yeah, for sure. Is she better than people like Sexy Red? In my opinion, yes, for sure. But unfortunately, the Sexy Reds, the Ice Spices, they're just a little bit more cool. They have a little bit more edge, you know? Maybe the songs kind of bang a little bit more over your head, top and shit. But I feel like as a congruent and consistent body of work, this is great. Like, this would be good for her discography. Once she does more albums later on down the line and matures more as an artist, this is going to be amazing for her discography. Now, if it was me and I was part of her team, what I would say, because again, I'm not that in tune with all the drama, but I do kind of see her face pop up on loads of blogs all the time and kind of be a bit annoying. If I was on her team, I would say, let's just focus on the music. Let's not do any interviews with any chatty patty, gossipy podcast. Let's not talk about any drama. Let's not talk about any beef. Let's talk about nothing. Let's just keep pumping out these tunes. Let's just keep looking hot on social media, making great visuals, putting out videos, and keep it popping. Because I feel like if she does that more, the respect of her artistry will increase exponentially. But I understand why she does it, because unfortunately or fortunately, part of the media game now is to kind of play that game, right? You're constantly playing that game of like fucking around online, creating narratives, enjoying the beef, playing into the memes, blah, blah, blah. You kind of have to do that to kind of keep your name popping. You can't just rely on your talent and your artistry alone. But I feel like now she's kind of, you know, I think people know what she's about. They know her face, they know her voice, they know what she looks like and shit. There's no need to continue playing those games. Like, you have to now focus on the music. That's what I would do, because I feel like this is a really good platform to kind of go off it, and you can only imagine how much better the albums coming after this will be, because other artists are going to hear her. They're going to want to be on her records as well. She's going to get access to better producers, better maybe A&R people, help producers, whatever else in the background. But I really enjoyed it. I just hate the name. I hate the album cover, and I only hate some of the overused slang, which I felt like was a bit overdone and a little bit excessive to appear like you're down and you're cool and shit. I'm not really too thrilled of that. But in general, as it goes to songs and just removing all that other fluff, Latto is really good. Latto is really fucking good. So I really recommend you check out Sugar Honey Iced Tea, available now on all your digital streaming platforms. Moving on and talking about people, talent and shit. Darkoo, the Afrobeats artist Darkoo, was recently on this podcast. I forgot what the podcast name is, but she made a very good point here. This is courtesy of the great Twitter account that I recommend you all check out, called TMC Music Connoisseur. They are really good at kind of covering a lot of like UK and African related music stuff. So if you want to check out all that stuff, I recommend you check out their page on social media. They're a really good page to check out. I'll put the link actually to the video in the description so you can see it for yourself. But I thought Darkoo's assertion or view of the music industry and how it moves was very astute here and very on point. So this is Darkoo saying how in music nowadays talent isn't enough, and I kind of have to agree with her. I'm not gonna lie.
Even your sound and keep it going and market in the right way. I always say talent is the least important thing in making music. Talent is the least important thing.
Yeah.
There's market. I think marketing is the most important thing.
I agree.
Brand, the way you look.
Yeah.
Over talent.
Yeah.
Talent is the last thing
Do you know what's peak though? 'Cause even with like your branding or how you look, like both ends of the spectrum can work. Where you can have the raggedy look, and that flies. You can have the prim and proper thing.
Yeah, that's all part of the branding.
That is part of it. Yeah, her thing is to be.
Bro, she will sit here and talk about what her thing looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what her nans look like or something like. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's her brand and it works for her. And I actually respect that so much, because I feel like a lot of artists are they're not trying to have the real conversations, bro. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, when we're talking about sitting in the car, talking about girl and talking about all of this stuff, I'm very comfortable having these conversations because this is actual conversations we have.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I should not sit here and be like, oh, I can't talk about this or I can't talk about that. But this is the real life. A lot of men don't want to talk about it, but that's what I respect. That's what I respect about Sexy, and I love how people have actually accepted that, because it's real, bro.
Yeah, it's real.
It's actually girl like that.
Yeah.
You know
Word.
Girls are actually, this is the realistic. You know what I'm saying? American girl. And that's what she's pushing, and I love that.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And the thing that's funny though, I feel like this has always been the case. I feel like nowadays people have only caught on to it now. And I'm not too sure why, but I feel like in general, this has always been the case. And I feel like I kind of was lucky to be exposed to it, mainly because of that guy and the whole idea behind 1,000 True Fans. And I feel like that came around the same time Tim Ferriss published his iconic book 4 Hour Workweek, and the premise of 4 Hour Workweek was to essentially provide you with a small business that you only needed to work on 4 hours of the week on, and the rest of the time you could be spent doing the things you're actually passionate about. Because the idea behind the book was that working a normal 9 to 5 was sucking all your time and energy from doing the stuff you actually enjoy, whether it was, you know, watching birds, train watching, doing photography, sewing, dancing, whatever it may be, or traveling through Southeast Asia somewhere, right? So the idea for our work was that, hey, let's create for you a small business that can sustain you, that can have you live maybe in a city where you are location independent. You don't need to live in a major metropolitan city. Your business runs entirely on the internet, and it can generate a certain amount that can cover your needs. And the whole premise around that was to kind of reframe what it was to be an entrepreneur, because for the longest time, people thought to be an entrepreneur, you had to have a business that was making like millions and millions in profit every fucking year, right? Or turnover and shit. when that wasn't the case. You could obviously live and location independent, you know, nomadic sort of life with just a business that could maybe generate a standard kind of like yearly salary, but it's something that you only need to work 4 hours per week on. Now, to do that, you also only needed a certain size of customer or follower or fan or listeners. And that kind of reframed people's heads to be like, no, you actually don't need to be like the most popping blog out there, the most popping magazine out there. If you have a niche core group of fans that really fuck with what you do, they can support you in a way that sometimes maybe some of the bigger artists don't get support because it's a bit up and down and a little bit circumstantial and shit. But if you have 1,000 true fans, those fans are way more valuable than just having 100 million random fucking followers. And I feel like in that world, having those type of fans was what people were kind of attuned with. And I think that kind of then led into podcasting, where with the podcasting shit, I saw a lot of people, especially in the stand-up comedy world, use the fame that they got from podcasting to then be able to feed that into their stand-up. A lot of the best podcasters out there generally aren't the best stand-up comedians. Look at Joe Rogan being a good example. But because you're so famous and you're so popular on that platform, you can easily segue some of that, or, you know, siphon off some of that fan base into your stand-up, and you don't miss a beat at all. So it's never really been about the quality of what you do. I don't, especially now with the major labels, the major streaming platforms being very metrics based. A lot of these companies aren't taking chances on podcasts anymore. Before, there was a lot of like maybe A&R, a lot of development, a lot of maybe kind of mentorship. But now a lot of these platforms have been burned and they're just looking at straight metrics. So if they know you can generate a certain amount of views, certain amount of downloads on your own, of course they're going to sign you an exclusive deal because it makes sense. You're a sure bet. You've already got your 1,000 true fans. They're now hoping if they put some money behind you and a battery in your back, they can then increase the amount of fans that you have to then get some of their investment back as well, and maybe in some cases make some money back from it. So now we're kind of like in a show and prove world, which is what it should have always been. It should have never just been about selling yourself based on your talent, selling yourself just based on your potential. It should always be about, you have to kind of show a little bit of what you have. And I feel like for the artists especially, this is a great place to be at. I feel like with some people it's not, because I feel like some artists probably benefit more from just being the artist. Like, I get to do what I want to do, and then the business people can do the business thing. But I feel like every artist now, if you have a phone in your hand, you're essentially your own marketing team anyway. So you're not just doing the artist stuff. You're obviously doing a bit of social media management. You're doing a bit of marketing. You're doing a bit of branding. You're doing a bit of sales. You're kind of having to do it anyway. So if you're doing it anyway, you might as well go 2 feet in, sliding tackle, and fucking go all the way. And in that regard, I think it's important, even for the artists that have talent, to see what their worth is without a major backer, major label, sponsor, whatever it is behind them. Go out there, put your shit out, see what your actual worth is in the free quote-unquote market, and then build from there. Because in that position, you're stronger and you can negotiate better terms for yourself. Now, it's a harder route to do that way, to have the talent, but to also find your own way, find your own fans, and then take those numbers to a label, is a very long and grueling road. You might not survive it. You might give up at the end. You might give up towards the end. You might try and find another job to kind of, you know, make up for some of the shortfall in money that you're not making, yada, yada, yada. But I think this particular era we're in is far better that way, because I feel like the artists that are coming out are a lot more on it when it comes to business and whatever it may be. Now, the only thing that we suffer with in this regard, I feel like, is like there's a lot of artists like Darkoo in the scene. She's probably a bit unique because I feel like she makes good music. But I feel like there's a lot of artists now who are probably way more on point and smart when it comes to the business. But when it comes to artistically, creatively, they are devoid of anything fresh, new, or original, or interesting. So it's no surprise that a lot of the artists now, or the music we're seeing now, isn't as good as it once was, because a lot of these guys and girls are spending probably way too much time on putting together a great video for TikTok, adding subtitles, editing this, uploading this. That's taken away from their creativity. But that's part is important too. You kind of have to do it all at the same time. But we don't all have that ability to kind of do copy, make ideas, do treatment for videos, all this shit at the same time, make merch. It's very difficult. So I think the negative side of it is obviously that the art kind of suffers. But I feel like nowadays, if you're an artist coming up, I feel like you should know by now that it's never been a talent thing. It's always been about how can you prove to people out there that you're worth giving a fuck about, and then using those numbers to kind of get yourself over the fucking line. That's kind of how you need to do it. And in general as well, just to kind of navigate away from the major label situation, especially if you're an artist. I feel like nowadays you probably shouldn't be running towards a label unless you're obviously dead broke, like you need the money legitimately, or you're gonna go fucking, you know, you're gonna be fucking homeless and shit. I understand. Take the advance, run into the fucking sunset, pay it back however you want to pay it back, but take that money for now. But if you can afford not to, and you can maybe finance your own shows, do your own thing, why wouldn't you do it? Like, why wouldn't you do it? That's what I would do. Why would the fuck wouldn't you do it? So big up Darkoo, a great message there, an absolutely great message there. Continuing on with great messages, we got this clip that features Mrs. Bosse Ojulu, also and also features the sister of Burna Boy. And in this particular clip, the sister of Burna Boy talks about how they basically came up and how Burna Boy's mum, also known as Mama Burna, basically financed a lot of the early tours and shows that he was doing, and how now they're in a much better position. So I thought this clip was really interesting and inspiring because it features a family in music that kind of know what they're doing. I feel like a lot of the artists, especially the American ones that I kind of see online, when it comes to involving their family in their business, they usually end up stealing from them and shit, which is super, super fucked up inside and ends up kind of causing divisions in family. So it's nice to see for once a family that, you know, a family supporting the artist, you know, within the family, but they actually have business acumen. Like, they know what they're talking about. Now, it could be because in general, you know, Ghanaians and shit are super smart anyway. That kind of helps with the thing. Maybe they're all educated in their own regard. They've run their own businesses, so probably entering into the music industry probably wasn't that difficult. But I like how sharp and how on point they all sound when it comes to music. It's not something you see all the time. But this is a really interesting video. It features Burna Boy's sister talking about Burna Boy's mum and his earlier come up when it comes to touring.
Another thing very interesting. So your mother, Mama Burna, as we all call her,
she has to warm up to that name, right?
Why? She didn't like it?
She's so used to being called her name.
Or Auntie Bosse?
Like, now it's like, sometimes my name is Bosse. In the beginning, but now it's part of her journey.
Yeah.
So now she loves it.
So there's a story that Burna's first tour, she insured it with her savings.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's more complicated than that.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need to go into like financial whatever.
She was involved.
I would like to, from your point of view, the point where it was like, okay, this thing is actually real.
I would say the day my mom paid herself.
Okay.
Which was at some point at the end of 2018.
Okay.
That was the first time she ever paid herself working for Burna.
That's got to be really cool, innit, right? Because I would imagine when you're in a family and one person makes it, especially in the entertainment industry, it's just difficult to like tell your family members no if they ask for money. But it's probably much better if you can get them to just work with you or work for you and just make money working for you, like as a salary, you know? That'd probably be way better. And don't just have them on salary just to kind of give them money to shut them up. Actually have them have an incentive to work with you and kind of build it from the ground up. And the more successful you become, the more money they make, the more happier they are. Bob's your uncle, Granny's your aunt. That must be so satisfying, because it must be super hard as an artist growing up and coming up in the scene to then, you know, have your family members, you know, with their hands out and shit, rightfully so. But to turn them down must be the hardest thing ever. So having them actually work for you and do a really good job must be super, 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 super cool.
Burna Boy. And at that point, I'm like, I literally had to sit her down. We're in the bank, and I said, you need to pay yourself. Like, it was an actual intervention for her. Because the whole time, and he didn't know the half of it, because it's like, when he was coming up, people would call her to book a show, and let's say it's in Warri, and they're like, oh, we're only gonna pay 100K. And she knows that he's not gonna wake up from his bed in Lagos
to go to
Warri for 100K when he has 100K on that. Like, do you get it? Like, he's not that. And so she would tell him it's 200K, and she would take out of her salary, because she was teaching she had her own language school, and she was teaching at the university in Port Harcourt at the time. So she would take out of her own money and pay him and add it and say, is 200K. And my dad would drive him to the show, drive him back home. Like, so that is the trajectory. So the day she literally signed and it was checked, she didn't believe in online banking. So she signed a check and wrote her name on the check and paid herself. And I'm like, now we're in business, mommy.
That's fucking amazing. And it probably shows why Burna Boy's music is so good. Maybe that's part of the reason why it's so good. Because he's a pure artist. He gets to focus entirely on the music. And his family looks after the business. And he trusts them with his life. You know? He trusts them entirely. Number one, because they're his family. And number two, because they know what the fuck they're doing. The sister's on point. The mum's on point. The dad's on point. Everybody knows what they're doing business-wise. They know the business. They know it. They're not stealing from him. And they got his best interests at heart at all points. So he can focus entirely on the music, on the production, on the artistry, on the instrumentation. It's no wonder the music is so good. Listen to Burna Boy's albums. Even if you don't like them, you can't say that this person isn't artistically inclined, isn't putting their all into trying to make, you know, a cinematic score. Like it's like a soundtrack of a movie or some sort. You know what I mean? It goes through so many pits and valleys and shit. It's all over the place. So this kind of does show to me the other side of what Darkoo is saying. On one point, no, as an artist coming up, the talent isn't enough. You have to have more than that. But it's also kind of sad nowadays. You can't just exist purely on your artistry and your talent. You kind of have to be a bit of a hustler, a bit of a marketer, a bit of a social media person, maybe a bit corny, a bit annoying, a bit lame online to get that attention on you. And then you can show people your talent. You know, you can't just focus solely on the talent, which is annoying. But in this particular case, Burna Boy has a family around him who are very business orientated, and they have fucking good understanding of the business and how it works and shit. And they can just let him focus entirely on the music, which must be a blessing in itself. So big up Burna Boy and his family. Big up Burna Boy and his blood clot family. Moving on from Burna Boy and his blood clot family, let's talk a little bit about Joe Rogan and his blood clot family. So this particular post, courtesy of Colin Rook and courtesy of the Joe Rogan podcast, really bummed me out. Because for me, when I think of fuck you money, my wanting of fuck you money is mostly so people can stop telling me what to do. I kind of want to live my own life, do what the fuck I want to do, when I want to do it, with no one telling me what I should do, where I should go, if I can go to the toilet, if I'm allowed to go on holiday or not, blah, 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 blah. I kind of want to be the master of my own ship, the driver of my own destiny, and kind of move to the beat of my own drum. So you look at someone like a Joe Rogan, you think to yourself, oh, that's an amazing example of what fuck you money can do, because essentially, and this is not meant in any disrespect, but he's essentially been able to be so successful in one division, in one area, especially when it comes to podcasting, that he's now given himself a career as a stand-up comedian, even though he's not good at it. He's kind of given himself a career. He's given himself the license and the permission to have a career as a stand-up comedian, because he's so good at podcasting and he's so famous and he has so much money that he could take chances on that stand-up. And even if people don't turn up, he doesn't matter, because he does it through pure love of just wanting to do the thing himself, which is the way that everyone should probably want to live in life, right? To get to that kind of point. But it's sad to see that even on Rogan's level, even at that level of fuck you money, he still kind of has a boss. And his boss, unfortunately for him, are MAGA people. MAGA people were up in arms when Rogan randomly decided to not so publicly endorse RFKjr in a very, I thought, mild-mannered, milquetoast, middle-of-the-road type of way. It wasn't even that crazy of an endorsement. It was more so of like, yeah, for the people I see available now at the moment, the person who I would probably back is RFK for whatever reasons that he stipulated in this particular video. And because of this video, he had to walk back the entire point, because I guess the MAGA people, the Trumpers, thought he was one of them, but then he decided to pull the okie doke and say, I like RFKjr, and they shamed him so much he had to apologize for saying something that I thought was fairly innocent.
That's just what they do. That's politics. They do it on the left, they do it on the right. They gaslight you, they manipulate you, they promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. You know, before anybody started calling him an anti-vaxxer, which I thought he was too. I thought he was this nut, this like conspiracy theorist nut, until I read his book. I read The Real Anthony Fauci, and I'm like, what is it? How much of this is real? Because if it's all real, this is fucking insane, and we live in a world where we're being manipulated by these health organizations that are being paid by the pharmaceutical drug interests. And these pharmaceutical drug companies are pumping these products out into the population and telling us that we need them, and then making insane amounts of money. And then also the government is in on it, and also they share a patent with Moderna, and also they share profits, and there's $700 million, I mean, however much money was made, whatever the number is that these guys made off of these products. Like, this is, all of it is fucking crazy.
And obviously he made that point, but because of that random point that he made about RFK Jr., Joe Rogan had to then walk back the entire comment with this following tweet on his account. For the record, this isn't an endorsement. This is me saying that I like RFK as a person, and I really appreciate the way that he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of that in this world. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American fucking things of all time. I'm not the guy to get political information from. If you want that from a comic, go to Comic Dave Smith if he actually knows what he's talking about. Now, the funny thing about this is that Rogan is still vehemently and pretty hopelessly trying to convince people that although he has the most popular podcast out there, although he's the most popular media figure out there, probably in the world, that he's just a rinky-dink, independent guy, choking out of his ass, shooting the shit, having fun in his bedroom, hanging out. Don't take what I said seriously. Unfortunately, that ship has now sailed. There's no possible way that you can be as big as Rogan is and not have people take what you say seriously. It's just not going to happen. Especially because his podcast isn't even like a conventional like comedy podcast, really. Obviously, when comedians get on there, they have a laugh and a joke. But Rogan is notorious for not letting people fuck around his pod. He takes podcasting seriously. So I always find it funny whenever he says something that people don't agree with in like societally or politics way, and he always runs back to the I'm just a comedian. Don't take myself seriously. It's like, bruh, you've got a serious platform. You take it seriously. People take what you say seriously. What you should do is just not give a fuck about what they say. But it's unfortunate to see that even a guy like him, who's made nearly $500 million from podcasting, which I feel like should be all the evidence you need that you're obviously doing something right. You made $500 million doing something that a lot of people do, but you're the only one that's made that kind of money. Obviously, you're doing something right. You should be okay with people disagreeing with you very vocally, very steadfastly, very aggressively, and very loudly. You should be okay with people disagreeing with you, calling you an idiot, saying you don't know what you're talking about, because you still got that platform. You can still say what the fuck you want. They can say what they want, but you can just ignore it and keep it moving. But it's sad to see that even though Rogan's got fuck you money, he's still beholden by his quote-unquote bosses, whether it's Spotify, whether it's the MAGA people, whether it's the Trumpers, whether it's the right-wing people in general, whoever it is, he's got some sort of boss, and he still feels a need to appease and remind people that he's not a politician. His platform isn't that serious. I'm just laughing and joking. And if you want to listen to a comedian who knows about politics, listen to this guy. Which is a sad way to end that statement. Because really and truly, you should be encouraging your listeners not to listen to any comedians when it comes to politics. They should be trying to engage with people who are actually into politics properly. That's like their full-time thing. They should be maybe a little bit more active in their local politics. They should maybe be taking more charge in that sort of things. Maybe doing their own research, as opposed to going to a comedian to get their kind of worldview from and to get their understanding of policies from, or just the current day politics and etc. That's not the way you want to go. But for me, I just saw that. I was like, that broke my heart, because it was almost cowardly of Rogan to do that. Almost cowardly of him to kind of sit there and be like, hey, I'm not that guy. Please, guys, don't cancel me. I know I said the wrong thing, but I promise I won't say that again. I promise. Now, a lot of that has to do with him basically twerking for the right wingers, right? He's been twerking a lot for the Trumpers and all those type of guys. And I feel like those dudes probably are just as bad as the Democrats when you don't kind of, you know, abide by the party line, when you don't say the things the way that they want them to be said, they're going to throw you to the wolves. So maybe he's kind of paying that price for sort of like flirting with those guys and then thinking he could just be like independent thinker and say what he wants, when really they kind of want you to toe the party line and kind of agree with everything Trump says, agree with all their talking points and kind of go through there. And he's obviously been reminded that's not the case. And I do like, as a kind of way to end this point, I do like how he was publicly embarrassed and chastised and called out in the best possible way during the recent episode of Kill Tony at Madison Square Garden. Shane Gillis doing, I think, one of the best impression of Trump out there. Now, the thing about Shane Gillis' Trump, it might not be the best sounding Trump you've ever heard, but I feel like the breaths, the cadence, the vocabulary, like even though the accent, even though the voice isn't entirely spot on, I feel like the way that he pauses, the little mannerisms, everything about it, I feel like Shane Gillis might have the best Trump impression out there. I swear to God. In the same way that I feel like Tim Dillon, even though he sounds nothing like Joe Rogan, he has the best Joe Rogan impression. Weed man, you know, that kind of shit that he does, right? Tim Dillon. I feel like he has the best. So I feel like impressions aren't necessarily about you sounding exactly like the person, but almost sort of like, you know, emitting their aura and their vibe. So listen to Shane Gillis after all that walk back from Joe Rogan on a recent episode of Kill Tony, absolutely eviscerate Joe Rogan, and Rogan not knowing kind of what to do when he comes out on stage. Absolutely brilliant. Big up Shane Gillis.
It's crazy what's going on in Austin with Joe Rogan.
Tony, I'd love for you to stop talking about fucking Austin for 1 second. I think it's obvious New York is probably the best, and I will say this. The reason I'm saying this is we don't have absolute cowards like Little Joe Rogan telling us what to do up here. Little Joe, he came in, he said he wants to endorse RFKjr. Can you believe this? Joe Rogan is an absolute joke and a complete pussy, and if I ever saw him, I would whoop his bitch ass. What a coward. Joe Rogan, complete coward. Right? And it's, frankly, he's an embarrassment to this country. He used to be such a powerful guy.
And of course, Rogan then comes out. And look how awkwardly Rogan just stands there. I don't know if this is part of the bit, but it's very awkward. Like, Shane obviously roasts him and kind of goes in on him. And then Rogan just awkwardly kind of stands there and just doesn't know what to do. I don't know if that's because he doesn't have comedic chops. He's, you know, whatever. He doesn't know how to riff and to razz as well on the spot, or he just kind of caught off guard. But he just kind of awkwardly stands there while Shane kind of does his bit. It's very strange.
What a guy. What a great guy. What an amazing American this man is. Joe Rogan, what a...
I love the flip because this kind of reminds me of the flip that Trump did with Elon Musk in real time. Before, he called Elon Musk a bit of an idiot. He didn't know what he's doing. And then as soon as Elon endorsed him, Teslas are amazing. Electric is the way to go forward. Elon is American hero. Blah, 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 blah. I loved it. Like, Trump does that a lot. As soon as you kind of, you know, he's a quid quo pro type of guy. You give him something, he's going to give you something. You give him the middle finger, he's going to give you 2 middle fingers.
True patriot. Great man. I would never say anything negative about this man. What a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy. Everybody agrees this is one of the best guys. We talk about, we say Austin. Austin, Texas is great. Joe Rogan is great. Frankly, Joe Rogan is the best, and everyone knows it. And I love RFK. Who doesn't love RFK? He's a great guy.
Honestly, that's fucking brilliant. But I am absolutely bummed that nowadays, even if you have FU money, you still have a boss. Even if you have FU money, you still have a blood clot boss. Continuing on. Let's talk a little bit about this news courtesy of Hypebeast regarding Supreme releasing some Nike Air Force One mids as of next season. So I'm sure some of you guys know Supreme have these like, you know, seasonal items that are always there. I think they have the Hanes tees, the pants, the sweatshirts, the vests, the socks and shit. And now in every season, they have a pair of Air Force One lows that just feature the box logo at the back of the heel, embossed at the back, stamped, which I think is incredibly chic. Just a classic all black Air Force One, all white Air Force One with a nice box logo emblazoned on the back of the heel. Very, very chic, very subtle, very cool branding. And they sell out, or they sell them every fucking season, and it's fucking cool. Now going forward, according to Hypebeast, they could be switching to Air Force One mids, which I'm absolutely happy about. Because I have to say, controversial opinion time. I think Air Force One mids are way more versatile of an Air Force One than an Air Force One low or an Air Force One high. And I would go as far as saying, especially if they're all white or all black, I think the best shape for an all white or all black Air Force One, which is the classic colorways, is an Air Force One mid. Because I just think they just sit. The shape, the silhouette, the fucking chunkiness, the form factor, the fact that you can go with every type of pant and short and shit is just so fucking cool. So I've always been the biggest fan of Air Force One mids. I remember back in the day when, you know, we'd all wear Subi jeans or Rick Owen pants and shit. The go-to shoes with Air Force One mids, even before maybe wearing Rick Owen Geo baskets, because as you know, I know the kids are wearing Rick Owen Geo baskets now, and Rick Owen dunks and Rick Owen Ramones and shit. But back in the day, I never really liked Rick Owen sneakers too tough. I always felt like they're a little bit, especially the highs, they're a little bit flimsy and weird and too big looking, and kind of looks like, they just looked a little bit too astronaut looking like boots. I didn't really like them. But I did prefer how with Air Force One mids, you got the combination of like a chunky mid high top type shoe, but you also got the sleekness of a boot type of style shoe as well. So kind of mixed into one. So I feel like they were the perfect complements, that sort of thing. So I'm more than happy to see this going forward. And this is something that I would definitely go out and buy. I felt like buying the Air Force One low with the Supreme stamp at the heel was probably a little bit too much, especially considering the, you know, the price increase with the Supreme ones. But I could easily justify buying a pair of black and white Air Force One mids with the Supreme on the heel, because I'd absolutely wear these into the ground. So this is courtesy of Hypebeast. It says as follows: Supreme and Nike go way back, and with the Air Force One back in into 2012 when they first collaborated on the canvas and gum Air Force One lows. Since then, they've run several other collaborations, including the heavy branded Air Force One high, multiple free party. Now, as part of Supreme's Fall Winter 24 collection, the Air Force One mid may also receive a staple treatment. Though no images of the forthcoming sneaker have been revealed at the time of writing, they're expected to release the classic all black and all white takes on the Air Force One mid, complete with the box logo on the heel. The MSRP is set at $133. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that MSRP, I think that might be the retail price, regular Air Force One mids, which is pretty cool, because they could easily, if they wanted to, because of the Supreme branding, Supreme could easily, if they wanted to, they could easily just, you know, increase the price of these 2 times and still sell them out. But the materials haven't improved or anything, because looking at the pictures and looking at the Air Force One lows, people that purchase them, I see some guy in my barbershop wear them. They're just regular Air Force Ones with just the Supreme stamp or the Supreme, you know, embossed sign on the back of the heel. They don't look any different. So I do like that Supreme don't try to overcharge people for a classic Air Force One, that just basic Air Force One, sorry. I just have a Supreme branding, which they obviously could do. So I do like that. Would I prefer them to have a more premium version of it and give reason to buy it? Probably. But they probably have an easier way to do these collaborations in season by just having it be a regular Air Force One and then adding the fucking stamp after the fact, as opposed to creating a whole different kind of like, you know, shoe overall from the ground up. So I recommend that one. I understand that. The Supreme and Nike collaboration partnership stretches back over 10 decades. The first collab and now legendary SB Dunk Low arrived 10 years ago. In recent years, they've been focused on more esoteric models or brand new silhouettes. In April, their recent SB Darwin Low, preceded by a first ever MXDN collaboration in February. That might be the only brand that does that, isn't it? Come to think of it. The fact that they've got like an ongoing collection or collaboration with Nike, with the Air Force Ones, but then they also do special projects with not only with Nike, but also with Nike skateboarding, because they kind of operate individually, you know, separately, sorry. So they're probably the only people that can kind of get away with doing like a separate SB project, a separate Nike project, you know, being able to pull certain models out from the archive, you know, help to fucking fuse a hybrid, whatever, all this sort of stuff, introduce a new limited edition model. It's pretty cool the stuff they get to do. But I'm really eager to see these when they eventually do come out. Air Force One Mids, Supreme, hopefully for fall winter 2024, which I'm looking forward to. The full collections for Supreme are the best. The only times you should be purchasing Supreme anyway when it comes to that sort of stuff. So I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Moving on from that. I want to talk a little bit about the VERDY Nike Dunk SB Low VISTY releasing next month, courtesy of Hypebeast. Now, I've seen a lot of these shoes and what VERDY does online and stuff, and I guess visually, I don't mind them to look at, right? You got this plush, soft, corduroy, pile, fuzzy fabrics going on with the shoe. Those are nice, bright, pastel-y type of colorways on there. It kind of looks like one big happy smile. Am I the only person that thinks a lot of these shoes that VERDY does for Nike, especially the SBs, are not only gay, they're also kind of pedo-ish? Does that make sense? Or am I being a bit weird? When I see these shoes, I think like, why would a grown man want to wear shoes that would attract the attention of children? Because I feel like only kids, like actual kids under 12, would be into these. Like, oh my God, sick, you got those, right? I don't know if a girl's going to find these cute. I don't think your fellow sneakerhead's going to find it cute, or it's going to break their necks. But I feel like an actual child, if you walk past a primary school, might be actually, oh my God, those look so fucking cool. But then why would you want primary school kids to like be paying attention to, you know? I don't know. They kind of give me diddler. And then we look at the VERDY kid himself. Again, not to be mean, we're all not blessed with fucking drop dead gorgeous model looks. But even he looks a little bit, you know? I don't know. I see some of the VERDY designs and I think to myself, like, is he like designing like pedo SBs? Is that what he's kind of doing? Are these pedo dunks? Or are these just fun shoes that we should all be into? I don't know. Because I don't, again, as a colorway, I fucking think they're cool. As a application, I think they're super fresh. The mix of the plush pile and the corduroy and the fucking color combinations with the blue and the yellow and the pink and that Tiffany greenish type of colorway, I think they're amazing. But I look at them and I think to myself, like, who would be impressed by these? I don't think a girl that you want to fuck would like these. She might question your zesty levels. I don't think a fellow sneakerhead would be that impressed because they're a bit shit. Because they're limited edition, right? They're the classic shoe where if they weren't limited edition, would they sell out? I don't think so. I think if these shoes are just like a standard shoe that you saw in office or in size, I don't think they sell out. I think they sell out because they're limited edition and because they're loud. Because they're loud, you're gonna see them and you'll be like, oh my God, these look crazy. Cool. But I think to myself, who in real life will see you wearing these and think, oh shit, I need those, they look amazing, and ask you questions? I think children. I think if you walk through Westfield, if you walk through Box Park, if you walk through Hyde Park, if you walk through Victoria Park, parts of Hackney, maybe whatever, Lewisham, maybe some kids might run up to you and think, oh my God, this is so amazing. Especially if you got one of these key rings next to your jeans on your backpack with the icon or bear that he designed as well. I don't know. And then I look at the guy as well that designs them, VERDY, right? VERDY designer. He also looks a bit suspect, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it and I'm being a little bit mean to him and what he looks like. But even the guy himself looks a little bit diddlery, you know? I'm not sure if he's even a guy or a lesbian. I'm not too sure because he kind of looks like a bit of a lesbian here. He kind of looks like a cool lesbian guy, a cool lesbian cat that we all know, we've worked with. I'm not too sure if it's a guy or a les, but either way, this person VERDY looks a little bit, you know, looks a little bit special. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not just sure if I'm hating on the shoes because I hate them, or if I'm hating on the shoes because they look like kids trainers and they kind of look like shoes that you would attract children. And I don't really want to wear limited edition shoes that children will be into, personally. I know some people else might like them. Is that Jeff Staple? Of course, Jeff Staple, they're fucking with his massive head. But maybe some people like to attract kids when they're wearing their shoes. But personally, I like to break the necks of grown adults, you know? I don't want literal 13-year-olds coming up to me saying, oh my God, I love your shoes, and asking me questions and making me talk to them. Like, I would not like that. Now, the colorways are fresh. I look at the colorway he did for the SB Air Max Ice Shots. Like, I think he's done, I think his colorway designing skills are very good. He's very, very good at that. So credit to him for that design ability and shit. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I look at some of this stuff and I think to myself, oof, I don't know if these are made for me or if I'm just hating. I don't know. Either way, decent enough dunk. I'm curious to see what these go for resale wise when they eventually drop. I feel like a lot of people are just gonna buy these for the hype of it. I feel like they're also an LA streetwear sneaker. Like any guy that's into streetwear in LA would probably be wearing these with Hellstar pants and shit. This definitely looks like one of the type of shoes. So I'm sure those LA streetwear guys that think they're dressing but they aren't really are gonna love these. But I personally hate them. It says VERDY and Nike SB Dunk Low VISTY. They are going to be $135 releasing in September. It's been months since we first caught the look of the VERDY's new VISTY themed tank on a Dunk Low. Now the project has finally received a firm release date as the pair. It's likely to be an SB Ice Shot 2 counterpart is set to drop. Okay, so there's going to be an SB, there's going to be an Ice Shot pair and also the Dunk pair in the same colorway. Review our previous coverage below to complete breakdown. What's the complete breakdown here? We don't have much of it, but yeah, this is them on feet. They look pretty decent on the foot. Maybe those Nike product shots look much better. They probably pop a lot better on these Nike product shots, but these picture shots here in real life, they don't look that great. They're a bit more, the colors are a bit more muted than what you'd expect them to be, but still pretty loud, pretty cool shoes, especially in the summer to wear, I'm assuming. But again, they look like shoes like kids would love and will come up to you and ask you questions. And I just don't know if I'm comfortable about having kids in Camden trying to touch my legs while I'm walking down the street. You know what I mean? I don't think that's on, personally. I don't think that's kind of cool, but I could be wrong. I could be fucking wrong. But they do look kind of decent. I'm not mad at them in the slightest. I'm not mad at them in the slightest. So let's see when they do release. Maybe some people will like them. Maybe I'll be the only person out there hating on them. And that's okay, because it'll give most of you guys out there a chance to purchase them when they eventually do drop. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Anyways, my friends. That is it. That has been the Agostino's English Show episode number, what is it? I think it's 804. It should be 804. Thank you for tuning in and being here with me. I appreciate all of you so much. If it's your first time tuning into the show, your first time tuning into the show, make sure you smash the like button down below. If you listen to the audio side of the podcast, make sure you leave me a 5-star review. Links and timestamps and stuff will be listed later on within the next couple of hours. I will also be leaving this live stream up for you to watch straight away, so don't be worried if you haven't checked it out live. You can also watch it back later on and also be available on audio in about a few hours time when it eventually does download and I eventually get it all uploaded and stuff. So thank you for checking me out in that regard. If you listen to the podcast via the audio app, please make sure you leave me a 5-star review on all of your podcast streaming platforms, specifically Spotify and Apple. They have very quick and easy platforms and methods to kind of leave 5-star reviews, so please do that, because I'm trying to reach out to sponsors and advertisers to get their money up on this particular pod. So if you can leave some reviews on there and let people know that real life people are enjoying this pod, that'd be greatly appreciated. And if you want links regarding myself, links to contact me regarding the pod is down below. Links to my socials down below. Links to my SoundCloud down below. Links to my Patreon down below. And everything else can be found down below. For my tune today, for those of you guys listening via the audio podcast, the tune of the day today will be Dizzee Rascal Live-O. Dizzee Rascal Live-O will be my tune today. If you're listening via the audio side of the pod, if you're watching via the video, unfortunately I can't play it because copyright laws on YouTube are fucking lame. So you just have to play it yourself. Dizzee Rascal Live-O, search for it. It's a fucking banging song. That's my tune today. But for now, I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again very soon. But for now, peace out, people. Peace out, people. Bye.